ring dirty. Wasted cannoli.
Just going to fall on the
Oh, look at that. Fireman carries suplex. 1, 2. Oh, 2.
It prohibits Jason Stanek from doing the expendables.
He's just tempting. Jason Stanek might just pick one up from the ground and eat it. Jon Tony, he always makes a mess here at Victory Pro. Jason Stanek stalking him. Reaper tries to sneak up behind him, but Jason Stanek well aware of his surroundings. He's from New York. Oh, he rolls him right into the referee. Oh, the referee might be hurt. The referee might be ready to get shot block. Oh no, we got that tray. You see what that tray? Oh my God! Oh my gosh, he hit it with the tray, the glass tray. Got him in the Karrion Kross face. That's how he wakes him up. Karrion Kross, like Jason Stanek, he might be knocked out cold. No, this is unfair. Oh no, you got one. No. No, 2, no. Oh no. Red Raper wins.
These fans are not happy here.
Oh, come on. No, Don Tony does it again. Don Tony with the acquisition.
Don Tony does it again.
You're right. Both from RPs, they got the connection. They're from around the block. Oh my goodness, what a night of action. Grim Reaper takes. We saw some great high-flying action from that triple threat that stole the show. The Reign, Javier, and Sabotage, the opening match, Papa Don, Richie Tyler. This is so much. This is what Victory Pro is all about. Wow, thank you, fans. I am Lawrence LC Queens Cross.
I am Earl McMuffin.
Look at that chest hair. That grease.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy as Don Tony gives you news and reviews from AEW.
Welcome to the party! Oh my God! Thanks for coming, Sammy!
NXT.
It's over! Cross is here to ransack NXT's soul!
And indie wrestling. It's Wednesday night, Dynamite.
Know what's happening in the world of wrestling without the hate and clickbait. And now, your host, Don Tony.
What's up, everybody? Wednesday night, Dynamite is back. AEW just went off the air. My favorite AEW wrestler finally has some gold, albeit not all elite gold, but we'll take it. We'll take it. Lance Archer, the new IWGP United States champion. I like it. I like it. Next week, he defends that title against Haku's son. Pretty good 7 days to be a wrestling fan, I would say. Got some quality wrestling, some returns, some surprises, some big-time rumors. Big-time rumors. Yes. 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 If these were just guesses, we would not be talking about it tonight. But we definitely will discuss a little bit about CM Punk. Looks like he may end up back on TV for AEW. Daniel Bryan, we'll get into that as well. We'll discuss a little NXT. I don't want to give any spoilers away today. And I know some of you are going to be really upset. But I know you go on Twitter and all you got to do is type in Karrion Kross's name right now. and you got a spoiler of an upcoming match that is going to go down. Can't say I didn't tell you. You know, when Karrion Kross, with everything that was going on with Samoa Joe, and I saw people last week, oh no, Kross is going to be stripped. That's it. That's it. That's how they're going to get him to stay on the main roster. They're going to strip him of the title. He never got pinned for it, and that's how they get him to... All we wanted was Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross. That's all we wanted. Again, I'm sorry for spoiling it. The match didn't happen yet. But it is going down at TakeOver. You go on Meltzer's website, the first article, Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross at TakeOver for the NXT title. Everyone was convinced that Kross was going to be stripped. Not here. Also, I've been planting seeds for the last 5-6 weeks. Little subtle seeds that I noticed on TV. My co-host Mish said I was crazy. A lot of you out there, DT, you're seeing something that no one else is seeing. And what was that? Why am I licking my fingers? Planting the seeds. Dakota Kai versus Raquel Gonzalez. That match will be taking place at TakeOver. Please. I know there's people out there that will clickbait the fuck out of you. And some of them are pretty damn good at it. But at the end of the day, they do get a boatload wrong. I'd rather be right. Remember, I don't want to be first. I want to be right. You know, you just take a step back and be a wrestling fan. That's the trick of this, everybody. I do have friends, obviously, in wrestling. And I do have some connections here and there. But when you let yourself be a wrestling fan, an astute wrestling fan, someone that actually watches and doesn't just look. You know, there's a lot of shows out there that are very loud, very passionate, and work their ass off. But in a lot of cases, they don't talk to you. They talk at you. There is a big difference at that. When people come up with all these themes and topics and that with no input from viewers, they're talking at you. They're not talking to you. When people make these tremendous things that Karrion Kross is buried, NXT is ruined. You ruined it, damn it. No, actually, I should take that back. I ruined it, damn it. I ruined it. I ruined it, damn it. Captain fucking Obviouses are all out tonight in droves. Did you see the latest one? And look, I like this guy, but when I write LOL, usually I'm not really laughing out loud. It takes a lot for me to laugh out loud. I'm naked. I read a good comic, watch an old comedy. I laugh out loud. But I couldn't help but laugh out loud at John Alba tonight. That NXT, Vince looks at it as a developmental and not a third brand. First of all, I say this with respect, it is a third brand. It's a third brand of WWE Entertainment. I think these people understand what the definition of a third brand is. Oh, wait. They thought it was on the same playing field as Raw and SmackDown. Why? Because Adam Cole's feelings might get hurt. Johnny Gargano's feelings might get hurt. We've always said it was the developmental. It always was, always will be. And I said this a long time ago. WWE got a little bit clouded. It got a little bit cloudy as far as the perception. Why? Because NXT was going up against AEW on the same night, the same time. It was always a developmental. And you remember all those rants that I said that I felt bad for a lot of those wrestlers in that company that are up and coming? And you have all this added pressure on them because fans out there view it as competition. Totally unfair for wrestlers trying to create their niche, try to hone their craft, try to become a main roster WrestleMania bound star in the future. And they had to be thrust in a spotlight, not ready, because NXT went up against AEW on the same night at the same time. It was always developmental. And now, because Karrion Kross loses Monday to Jeff Hardy in 3 minutes, which, reflecting on it, mission accomplished by WWE. Anyone out there in their right mind truly thinks that Karrion Kross is buried because he lost to Jeff Hardy, where Jeff Hardy was cheating, and now they're saying NXT is tarnished, ruined? These are people that, a lot of them didn't give a fuck about Karrion Kross before Monday night. These are people out there that have been complaining about 50-50 booking forever. These are people out there that just want to find a reason to rip WWE. It was always developmental. And when John Alba tonight writes big news, Vince looks at NXT as developmental. Please, you got to join that commercial. Captain fucking Obvious. Captain Obvious. Just because people don't understand what things actually are, just because you figure it out now, because Kross got pinned, that's not news. That's a revelation for all of you out there. A lot of people tuning in right now already knew this. Everything we just talked about, we already knew this. But the people in droves are more concerned about getting the news, getting clickbait, getting attention, getting, that hit. The CM Punk stuff today. Oh, CM Punk, serious negotiations. Click my fucking Patreon for details. How disrespectful. How disrespectful. You're not in the fucking contract room. You're not in CM Punk's house. You're not in AEW's bed. You're hearing from a ninth source, a source of a source of a source of a source, neighbor's cousin's dog's groomer. Click my payment place to find out the details. Look, if you could get people to do it, more power to you. But Jesus fucking Christ, these people act like they're breaking major shit. When you have to write a word LY, as I've always said, reportedly, possibly, likely, probably, when you have to put a word with LY in the same title, you don't know for fucking sure. I put a question mark. Yeah, that's how it looks on your screen. I put a question mark in the title for today's episode because I don't know if Daniel Bryan has signed with AEW. There's only a few people that truly know that answer. But when you have people within WWE that are now taking down a lot of stuff related to Daniel Bryan, when you see Topps that does all the digital cards and this and that, and when people are released, they pull their cards off. The latest one that was pulled off was Lana. Daniel Bryan's was pulled off. No, maybe he's negotiate. Well, then explain to me a few other wrestlers that were never pulled from there, but actually had no deal. Look at Samoa Joe. Oh, no. I was back months ago. Nobody knows the truth. But the Daniel Bryan rumors are pretty damn credible for where it's at this game. Daniel Bryan has definitely spoke with AEW. AEW wants to bring him in. You see tonight, you see Nick Gage. Nick Gage makes his AEW debut. Let's see if Nick Gage wrestles more than 4 matches for AEW. Oh my God, Jeff Cobb, he's in AEW. Man, I don't like that I'm this old now. Sucks getting older. But this is one of the rare times that I will say to you, I wish I was 10 years older, because I would have loved being a wrestling fan in the 70s and old enough in the early to mid 80s that I could go to wrestling on a regular basis, to see the territories, to see wrestlers go from Florida to Texas to Oregon to back to Florida, and then to California, and then up to Canada, and then once in a while get to go through New York, and then they go back to Texas, and then you have wrestlers back then that would work 5, 6, 7, 10 promotions. There's no forbidden door that was kicked down. This is a throwback to the territory days. All these promotions realize, especially with COVID, that it's better to work with each other than to work against each other. WWE is the only exception because of how big they are. So seeing Nick Gage today, I like it. Because as a result, next week, we get the return of the Painmaker. The Painmaker is making his return next week. No rules match, which means anything goes. Anybody could interfere. And I think it will be a boatload of fun. I don't think Nick Gage beats Jericho. If you follow the storyline, it's impossible. But the fact that Nick Gage, AEW is willing to bring him in, I love it. Even if he only wrestles 2 matches. I love it. I love it. This early NWA TNA, when they started in 2002, they were bringing in wrestlers that they weren't signed to a contract, but they'd make a couple of appearances and then they'd leave. And some of us, really didn't like it early on because as soon as you get behind a wrestler, some cases they would disappear. And we'd want them back. Sometimes they didn't come back for very long periods of time. But why? Some of you are saying, why am I saying 2 matches? By the way, shout out to everybody who is live on YouTube, my family. Everyone who was on Facebook, Twitter. I think Twitch is on right now. Twitch, unless I show my boobies or I play video games, I don't think that's going to ever build. By the way, if anybody who is live right now, I just want to make 2 notes very quickly. Number 1, if you want to chat with others during the show and with yours truly, you have to be a subscriber on our YouTube channel. All right? Doesn't cost anything to subscribe. But that was a new feature that has not been rolled out to everybody yet, but I was one of the first ones to get it, thank God. And we did it Monday, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. We don't have to worry about trolls. And if you're going to be a troll, you're a subscriber, all right. But because some of you decide, Lord, let me subscribe. We're almost at 20,000. We're this close at 20,000. So we are going to start planning on a very fun special episode. And I will ask a few other podcasters to come on with me, hang out for a little while. I'll probably host it with Mish, and we'll have a 3rd box open, And if I'm in such a good mood, I might even invite some people that some of you out there would never, ever think that I would ever do a show with. How does that sentence change if I end it with the word again? We'll see. We'll see. I'm in a great mood. None of us could have predicted how great wrestling was going to be once we got back to touring and live fans. But the last 7 days, I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it's been so great, man. It's been so great. Now, look, tonight's show is going to be a little different than before. Oh, and let me say another thing about the chat room. From now on, and some of you experienced it Monday, unfortunately, I'm not using any sound effects today because 80% of everybody who tunes into my shows only access the audio only. They don't watch the video. And some of them, enough people complain like, DT, I heard Lily's voice. They heard that all throughout the night Monday, and they're like, why did I keep hearing Lily's voice? Well, that was every time somebody who super chatted or subscribed or became a channel member or even put a donation through Streamlabs, which I finally launched the tip jar, but it's far from done. I know a lot of people out there, if you donate this much, then this will happen. And if you donate this, and this will happen. I'm going to start building on that. But from now on, since Roman Reigns has de-acknowledged me, Roman Reigns, his storyline is kind of like social media. Acknowledge me, damn it. Well, from now on, while I'm live, if you super chat, if you subscribe, if you become a member, if you throw something in the tip jar, and if you notice, half of those involve zero fundage, it'll pop up on the screen. So if any of you out there are not a subscriber right now, subscribe. Let's see if your name pops up. And if it does, and I see it, I give you a shout out as well. I just want everybody to interact as much as possible and have fun as much as possible. Now, I'll say this about Karrion Kross. I realized yesterday was Patreon and only very small percentage of you were on there, this much. And I said something in closing that followed up what I said Monday about Karrion Kross losing to Jeff Hardy. And, you know, I'll say this. And yes, I defend WWE a lot. I also criticize them a lot. I hope to God they're not splitting Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Now, Scarlett posted a tweet yesterday like, you know, we've only just begun. So that kind of appeases a lot of the noise out there. But we truly don't know what the deal is. I want to see if King of Games pops up over here. Oh, I know why it wouldn't pop up. Oh, I got to fix this quick. There we go. All right, now it goes. There we go. Now I see even we got Alexa Bliss sighting tonight. King of Games, thank you, my friend. Thank you. I had it off the screen. I was like, ah! So now they'll stop popping up. So anyway, so if you subscribed, oh, God, I just realized something. Oh, my God, I just realized something. You know what's going to start happening, everyone? Should I even say it? Because it's going to cause, no, people are, because look, if people start doing that repeatedly, all they got to do is then shadow ban them and they're gone. But people are going to subscribe, you know, just see, like Anthony Elliott. All right. Karrion Kross, you know, Scarlett, say that fast 10 times. Scarlett calmed the waters a little bit by making her tweet yesterday. Bunsley, what's up? What's going on, Bunsley? I hope we get 10,000 people subscribing tonight. I don't think I could shout everybody out. She definitely calmed the waters yesterday. But it's very concerning if you look at the video package that they showed on Raw of Karrion Kross, and there was no visuals of Scarlett at all. None. Yesterday on NXT, when Karrion Kross was shown standing above William Regal, who was incapacitated by Karrion Kross. When Kross ran into his car and sped away, Scarlett was not in the vehicle. Now, we could read into this several ways. Maybe Scarlett just needed a week or two off. Maybe there was some personal stuff she needed to attend to. Maybe she's not feeling well. There's legitimate reasons this could be. I don't want to read too much into it. And I know a lot of you out there who reached out to me and said, well, can't you just ask Karrion Kross? I wouldn't do that because it's none of my business and it's too deep. And, you know, I would never even report that as news, even if I knew the answer, because, you know, that kind of fucks them up. But I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. I am concerned. Now, I'll close this whole Karrion Kross thing that went on Monday, in my opinion, like this. And some of you are not going to like what I'm going to say. I'm not going to criticize anybody anymore who is extremely frustrated. If you truly feel that NXT is buried and destroyed because of what happened, okay, that's your prerogative, whatever. But I think mission accomplished by WWE. I truly think it was mission accomplished. This was the fruit roll-up on steroids. If anybody that's followed my shows for quite some time now, and I notice a lot of other places are starting to only pick it up now. Over a year, we've been talking about the fruit roll-up. WWE has this infatuation with the fruit roll-up that when they want someone to lose, someone that shouldn't lose, but unexpectedly loses. Richard Havens, what's up, my friend? But when you have someone that loses, but you really want it to seem like it was abrupt, unexpected, they didn't need somebody's finisher, they do the fruit roll-up. And people started noticing how obsessed WWE is with the roll-ups. Roll-up, roll-up, roll-up. So what did they do Monday? That was the fruit roll-up on steroids. Not only did Jeff Hardy roll up Karrion Kross, but he cheated. Johnny Skellingtor. By the way, I when you see the thank you for the super chat, have no fear, because we still pull it up over here. That's just an extra shout out. You get 2. But that was a fruit roll-up on steroids Monday. Jeff Hardy cheated to win. So as angry as we are that they decided to do that Monday, it's the fruit roll-up mentality. And what has WWE been doing for the past bunch of weeks? They've been plugging NXT on Monday nights. They've been pushing it. And we've also been talking about the Nick Khan effect, that Nick Khan is going to have people make appearances on Raw, on SmackDown, a WWE star showing up on NXT, little bit co-mingling on Main Event, 205 Live. Because Nick Khan is doing the same thing that they did when they consolidated that movie department and the other departments. If we have all these people on the roster and they're not really wrestling much at all, why can't we bring someone on 205 Live? Why can't we have Bronson Reed on Main Event? Why can't do it? Because it creates an extra buzz. Bronson Reed shows up on Main Event. Oh no, he's SmackDown. That's it. Making a SmackDown debut. He's going to come out and confront Otis. Not yet. Not yet. Oh my God, they performed in front of WWE management. Oh, no, not yet. Karrion TakeOver is not for another, 4 weeks? Or whatever it is. Karrion Kross is still going to be the champion leading into that. So what happened on Monday created a tremendous buzz. Yes, not the buzz that we would like it to be, but let's be honest. If Karrion Kross squashed someone Monday in 3 minutes, or Karrion Kross beat Jeff Hardy handedly, we would have all said, oh, Karrion Kross made his debut on Monday, but there was no Scarlet. And then we would have moved on. There would have been this much talk about it, but instead we have this much talk about it. So the buzz that WWE wanted to create, they created. That's it. I mean, back in the day, we had Daniel Bryan lose to Sheamus on WrestleMania in 10 seconds. Or whatever it was. Anybody remember that? Nobody brought that up Monday. How livid were we when Daniel Bryan lost to Sheamus at WrestleMania at that time? The momentum that guy had, and he lost in 10 seconds. That match pivoted him and skyrocketed him. Not in 1 week, but in the fans' eyes, they got behind him more. That's it, plain and simple. 18 seconds. Thank you, Kavad. But you get my point. Look, don't overanalyze this. Don't overanalyze it. WWE thinks that Karrion Kross is going to be a major star, and he is. And I don't just say that, but I want to say something else that I brought up yesterday that got 99.9% in agreement from our Patreon family. I want to say it here. Johnny Gargano, believe it or not, is one of the most over wrestlers in NXT right now. They quietly built him to a babyface. A lot of people didn't even realize it. We've been talking about it. Unfortunately, if Kross destroys Gargano with an inch of his life, there are too many people on social media to be like, good. I don't like Gargano. Kross should have squashed him. And they're probably right. There is nobody in NXT right now that is such a milquetoast babyface that if Kross beats the shit out of them within an inch of their life, that the internet is going to just go full heel on Kross. So what is WWE doing? They are finding people who are big time over with fans still that can be sacrificial lambs. No, you're not going to have Riddle get destroyed within an inch of his life by Kross. You're not going to do that to Xavier Woods. You're not going to do that to your most beloved stars who are still in the midst of big pushes. So what do? He chokes out Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, very beloved, especially after we thought that he would be gone for good. The last visual was him wearing the poncho in the rain. He chokes out Samoa Joe. Then he vows revenge on Jeff Hardy. Karrion Kross is going to end up beating the living shit out of Jeff Hardy. Beloved babyface. Beloved. Now, William Regal is incapacitated by Karrion Kross. See the pattern? Not NXT wrestlers, but this is more mainstream people. Karrion Kross is going to consistently destroy beloved people who have big name value, but can be sacrificial lambs for the storyline, because Joe, he just got choked out. Joe is vowing revenge, as you saw yesterday, and a lot of people want to see Joe beat the shit out of Karrion Kross. William Regal doesn't wrestle anymore. Jeff Hardy still does. And Jeff Hardy cheated. If anything, this is, I think, a lot of people didn't realize. We'll move on now. If anything, if Vince McMahon and WWE truly did not give a shit about NXT and Karrion Kross, then why didn't Jeff Hardy just pin Kross clean? See, they had to do the fruit roll-up on steroids. They wanted Kross to lose, so Kross would snap and then get revenge on Jeff Hardy. So when Jeff Hardy cheats, which makes no sense with his character, and he's a babyface, it makes no sense for Jeff Hardy to cheat. But by doing that, there's an asterisk next to the win, and it gets Kross so livid and pissed off, it's a reason to beat the crap out of Jeff Hardy. If WWE and Vince McMahon did not give a shit about Kross or NXT, Jeff Hardy would have just pinned them clean. And that would have been it. That would have been it. So nobody should be viewed as buried, destroyed, this and that because of one loss. Let it play out. Because now you're going to get Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross at TakeOver. The match we all wanted to see. Other people were saying he's going to be stripped. No, that's it. This week, he's going to be stripped. Everyone, tune into NXT. He's going to be stripped. The only thing he stripped was the pavement if he lit the tires a little bit. Let it play out. The more you let it play out as a wrestling fan, the clearer it gets. So hopefully we can move on from the Karrion Kross stuff. Ratings-wise, NXT did 709,000 on Tuesday. Only up 4,000 from last week. You know, when all these websites were saying, oh, AEW, NXT's rating jumped. Didn't jump. It went up 4,000 viewers. At least it didn't go down. At least it didn't go down. By the way, motherfucker, I'm still here. I dropped my cap from my beverage. How awesome was Lance Archer versus Jon Moxley tonight? That chair spot that Moxley did, oh my God. I joked on social media and I said, kids, please do not try this at home. And I showed the little video clip of Orange Cassidy and Sting, which I thought was wonderful because they didn't actually sell like they were injured. They were just messing around with each other. And then when Sting went like this, I fucking laughed. I thought that was great. But when I said, kids, don't try this at home, that's a satire of the old WWF public service announcement they used to say about wrestling fans. Please, you know, these are professional athletes. Please do not try this at home. That was until I saw Moxley take the chair shot from Archer. For those that didn't see it, a lot of times when we see weapons used in matches, someone will put two chairs in the ring together and the seats will be touching each other. And you have the chairs like this, and then somebody usually will get power bombed through those chairs. We've seen it countless times over the years. Moxley, because it's Moxley is like, oh yeah, I see your chair shot and I raise it. He takes the chairs and he flips them around. So now you have the seat of the chairs like this, the back of the chairs back to back like this, and the seats are facing the opposite way. And Lance Archer slams him spine first right into the steel edge of the chairs. let me tell you something. I know it got a holy shit chant tonight, but when you see spots, even these days, now look, you see some other promotions that are uber violent, crazy violent shit. But for our regular consumption of wrestling between Impact and MLW and AEW and WWE and Ring of Honor, and I know I'm leaving a few out, that is one of the most painful spots that I've seen in a very long time. That shit was crazy. The fork thing was pretty cool also. The thing is, though, is, you know, when you're doing it that many times and there isn't blood, like, going profusely, you know, I mean, I can do that right now. Look, everybody. This is the tip of the pen. See, look, right now. Oh, look. You know, it's because the tip is, you know, inside my thing. You know, when Abdullah the Butcher used to use the fork, I don't have any forks in this room. I don't eat in this room, but the fork, you bend the edge of the fork a little bit more. So instead of the edge of the fork grinding in the person's head, it's actually like leaning against. So when you go like this, look at he's doing it. It's a good visual, you know? You cut even a little bit and you just push with a utensil, even though you're not digging, you'll get blood. By the way, how do you like my hair? My hair. Benjamin, I'm not exposing the business. It's beautiful visual. That's why I'm appreciating Moxley's spot even more, because that shit is one of the most painful spots that I've seen in a very long time. That shit, to me, I think that was more painful than him going through the barbed wire at the end. By the way, I told you last week that the rules were going to be based on new IWGP rules. When they did the Texas Death Match, anybody that doesn't know, a Texas Death Match, you have to pin your opponent and then you count to 10. But no. When they used the rules from Japan tonight, you didn't have to pin your opponent first. They just have to be incapacitated. So they actually did do a hybrid. They used rules from Japan and called it a Texas Death Match. No complaints whatsoever. Zero. They tore it up. And again, my favorite wrestler, Lance Archer, so happy that he's got some gold. Remember, Lance Archer, didn't Moxley beat Lance Archer in Japan to win that belt? I mean, I don't have my factoids with me tonight, but I have a feeling that was the case. By the way, don't forget tomorrow, we pick a winner. I mean, I shouldn't be doing this, but if any of you out there, you didn't tune into last Thursday's show, you might want to skim through it, because tomorrow we're going to do live the winner of the contest. And the rules were very easy and you could still enter. And somebody tomorrow is going to win this autographed Matt Hardy photo. I shouldn't be touching the autograph. Also, the winner is going to get their choice of any Matt Hardy shirt that is currently on sale. And the winner is going to get a cameo video from Matt Hardy. So that's coming tomorrow. So, but don't wait till the last second, because when we go live, that's it. No more entries. So, yes, thank you, Sam. He checked it. Moxley beat Lance Archer in Japan. And I'm happy that Archer has the belt back. So, good. And next week, you know, they quietly threw that in there tonight. Next week, Tony Khan is going to make a major live event announcement. Now, I don't know what it's going to be, but, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if Tony Khan actually goes out there live on the microphone and actually does this, because he has resisted so far as putting himself as a character on Dynamite. It will happen, everyone. Give it time. We don't know exactly when, but Mr. McCann, or Dixie Khan, Dixie Carter, spelled Kharter, Tony Khan will end up being a character. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Definitely. So, one last thing, since we're on the topic of Moxley, and we talked about Nick Gage earlier, when I was saying I'd like to see 2 matches at least of Nick Gage in AEW, What was the other match I'd like to see? I'd like to see this. I'd like to see the return of a light tube barbed wire match between Nick Gage and Jon Moxley. I think Moxley, I know this is going to sound perverted for some people out there. I think Moxley will get an erection if AEW says, hey, would you like to do a hardcore match against Nick Gage? I think Jon Moxley seriously would get aroused. That guy, I don't think some still understand how much this guy loves hardcore wrestling. It's in his blood. I mean, it's just Moxley is a gigantic fan of hardcore wrestling. And there's a few people that I know he would love to tear it up with. My God, could you imagine if Nick Gage, people were uncomfortable when it was Moxley versus Kenny Omega that time. Could you imagine if instead of Kenny Omega, it's Nick Gage? Something tells me I think even Nick Khan, did I say Nick Khan? Tony Khan would apologize, I think would say that it was a little too much for even AEW standards. Much love to everybody who's with me live tonight. Let's get into some questions. And since Wednesdays are everything except WWE, let's leave it to King of Games to ask, after Roman is done with Cena, who do I think he should feud with for the remainder of 2021? Big E. I know Big E is going to face Lashley, but if Big E remains a SmackDown wrestler, Big E should feud with Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins, there's rumors that that feud actually will go down. It'll be interesting to see whose character gets tweaked. I'll answer this like this, and we'll get back to AEW and NXT. We don't know who is going to be drafted to which brand. There is a lot of talk that the draft this year will involve the NXT as well. I know almost nobody's reporting that, but from what I was told, WWE is seriously considering having NXT part of this draft also. Once the draft is done, that will give us a better idea as far as who should or who we would like to see face Roman Reigns. Some are saying Balor. Excellent choice. I don't think there's a bad choice, but the draft changes everything. Somebody on Raw right now could end up put on SmackDown. Could be Riddle. You never know. It could be anybody. We got to wait. I truly believe we got to wait for the draft to really get a grasp. Because remember, if they do this draft in October, you're only a couple of months away from the Royal Rumble. So you'll start seeing some seed planting almost immediately. But look, great question, man. And by the way, don't forget, tomorrow night, my show, 10:05 p.m. Eastern, Q&A all night long, your calls as well. So anything that's on your mind, doesn't even have to be wrestling. Tune in tomorrow, and we'll have some fun. Some people out there, I know kind of sounds messed up, but I have people that say, and there's some live right now, say Thursday night is their favorite night as far as all the shows that I do. So doesn't make Mish feel all that good. But Johnny Skellingtor. Nice. Now I got your name right. Great show tonight. He feels AEW is on their way of surpassing WWE sometime soon. And congrats on my engagement. Thank you very much, my friend. For those that don't know, Saturday I set up my wedding date, September 3rd, 2022, 9/3/22. So I have a lot of work to do. Do not be surprised if you see me actually add content on this channel and really start getting balls out with thumbnail quality and timestamps and really trying to take this to the next level. Because believe me when I tell you, almost every penny that I make, no matter what work I do, it's got to go towards this, because there's a lot of shit that's going to go down in September of next year. But thank you very much for that. And yes, look, I'm telling you, man, you're going to have weeks that AEW is going to do in the eights. And you're going to have weeks that AEW is going to go over 1 million. What people need to stop doing is when AEW does 800,000 or 850, oh my God, what's the problem? What's wrong? Not every promotion kills it every night. And I know this sounds really stupid. You don't want AEW to feel like pay-per-view quality every night, because at some point you're going to burn through big matches. That was one of WCW's biggest problems, that they were more concerned about what was going to be on Nitro going head-to-head with Raw. And yes, AEW's not going head-to-head with anybody right now on Wednesday nights, but the point is, you want to save a lot of bullets for pay-per-views. And yes, you want to appease TBS, TNT, the network. You want to give them quality and you want to bang out good ratings, but you also got to be very serious with the business. So you don't want them. I don't ever want to see a shitty show by anybody. But sometimes you got to, like what they say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But you have to have some real good continuality. So like you see, like tonight, we could bring this up for a second. I'll get right back with your super chats, everybody. But you see, we got the debut tonight of Chavo Guerrero Jr. Looks good. I mean, we've seen him. I mean, between Glow and some other promotions. So, he doesn't look any different than he did a year ago, 6 months ago. But it's nice to see Chavo. It was interesting tonight because I think Chavo technically is a heel, because he's representing Andrade, who is a heel. Then you have Nick Gage, who comes out because MJF brought him in to take out Jericho next week. So Nick Gage is technically a heel. And they're just eating it up from the crowd. Nick Gage loving the fan reaction. Chavo loving the fan. High fives. No, you're a heel. You're a heel. And listen, I know when Chavo says, he's like, look, nothing against the locker room, but nobody stacks up to Andrade. And that's not the way that storyline is going. Andrade tonight cutting a promo. This was probably his best appearance yet in AEW. He challenged the group of Pac, Ray Phoenix, and Penta, the Death Triangle. And I don't know if any of you felt this tonight, but the way Ray Phoenix and Penta were standing in front of Pac when Andrade was saying, like, you don't work for Pac, you work for me. How they were standing in front of Pac, I honestly thought for a moment that Ray Phoenix and Penta were going to beat the living shit out of Pac. The reason why I am glad that did not happen tonight is because I think many of us would like to see Andrade tear it up with Penta. We'd like to see Andrade tear it up with Ray Phoenix. All right, maybe with Pac as well, but let Andrade have a bunch of matches with these guys, tear that shit up, put on performances like you have a chip on your shoulder because of WWE. Once you burn through that, then I'd like to see Andrade, Ray Phoenix, Penta, Chavito, and maybe a few others, and create that Latino world order that for some reason every 6 months we hear it. WWE considering a Latino world order. Nothing happens. 6 months later, WWE open to having a Latino world order. Nothing happens. 6 months later, WWE reconsidering Latino world order. Nothing happens. Rey Mysterio, I'd love to have a Latino world order. Nothing happens. Meanwhile, how many years have gone by since the Latino world order? I'm going to be 95 years old. I'm going to be Dominic Mysterio's son would like to see a Latino world order in WWE. Dominic's son. So please, AEW, go through the matches, give us what we want, damn it, and then create that Latino world order. You can't call it the LWO, obviously, but, hey, Impact TNA created the LAX, so that's their job. Come up with a different faction with a catchy couple of letters that we could all wear on shirts and chant and get into. That's what I'd like to see. Oh, Mike, please. Don't give me that Del Rio interested in WWE. WWE's not interested in Del Rio. That's like if there's a supermodel living next door to me. Somebody says, hey, I heard DT is really interested in that supermodel. But meanwhile, that supermodel's like, Del Rio, seriously. No, I usually say, send me whatever you're smoking. I really not interested in having whatever Del Rio is having. Whatever's on the menu for Del Rio, for you, Patron, no, I'm not interested. My God, I still don't understand why Hannibal did that. I don't understand it. I don't care if Page is wrong. I don't care if Patron is wrong. I don't care if they're both wrong and fucked up. Him throwing threats to Page, especially when you know that there's a lot of depression issues and, just what a dick. Not Hannibal. I mean, I've warmed up on Hannibal a little bit. That was a unforced error by Hannibal. The minute that motherfucker goes on your show and he starts doing what he's doing and making the threats, you say to him, say, look, I don't know if I should put that up. It might cause problems with my channel or something like that. Lie. But no, instead, he puts pinned Patron addresses Page. Dick. Speaking of, we'll talk about Velveteen Dream in a second. Something happened today. And yes, I will put timestamps up today. I think tonight we really got to start really spending some extra time making this, every reason to want to tune in. Before I do that, though, population 420. It is what it is. Oh, you're the one the other day. I responded, I wrote, and it was what it was. WWE, Daniel Bryan, Punk All Elite. Yes, I will get into that in a couple of moments. I'll let everybody live. You let me know what you want me to discuss next. Punk and Bryan and AEW, or we do the TV recaps first. I think Punk and Bryan and AEW. Some tells me you all want to get into that. And yeah, we'll do that in a second. I'll come back to you in a moment. I promise you. VJ, what three champs remind me of the Winged Eagle belt? Since we're talking about AEW and NXT tonight. The wing belt, Bret Hart. Definitely Bret Hart. Randy Savage. Didn't Randy Savage have the wing belt? I don't know who else. Shawn Michaels. Bret Hart is number one. I mean, that photo of him with that smile on his face, proudly displaying the belt, it's one of the most iconic photos in the history of pro wrestling. I know a lot of you out there have never looked at that photo that way, but you all know the photo I'm talking about. That is, and if I ever put like Bret Hart autographed memorabilia up, that's the photo that I want signed. Backlund didn't have the wing belt. Backlund had a small, I mean, look, it was a cool old school belt. I think that belt was for like the 60 and over demographic in 1983. Warrior had it. Okay, Warrior. Undertaker didn't have the belt long enough for me to think of Undertaker with that belt. So, but yeah, those are I go with. Bret, Shawn Michaels, Austin, yes, as well, but Austin, I don't know. When they did the Smoking Skull belt for me, that's how I always think of Austin with that title. But AS7607, but thank you, VJ, for that. She watched Dark Side of the Ring about Nick Gage. Christ, that was so violent. The episode is hard to watch. Look, I will, in the channel members section, I'm not doing that for a paid thing. I can't put them on YouTube for the regular. It's just because of the music that we were using at the time and other things. There would be crazy amounts of editing. I want people to understand there's reasons other than don't do pay grabs. But I listened back the other day at the episode that I did when Nick Gage got arrested for the bank robbery. And I just say, thank God that I have changed my view on Nick Gage after he paid the price. He served his time and really worked to get his head straight. the hardcore violence, kind of got his head straight, if you even think his head is straight. But, he's an intelligent guy. I mean, he's just not just wild freak of nature that people are just bringing in like, oh, my God, what a hardcore delight. You can negotiate business with him. But I don't know if, like I said before, I don't know if AEW would really allow that level. I mean, next week we're getting him versus the Painmaker, and I don't know how far that match is going to go. If anything, you know what I think will happen next week? We may see something with light tubes. We may see something, I don't want to say like the glass table. Didn't know Omega go through that glass table, early on in AEW's tenure. But you're going to see probably a crazy ass setup somewhere where you would say, there ain't no way Jericho's going through that. And we're probably right. And Nick Gage will probably be the one to go through it. So I expect a Nick Gage level bump by Nick Gage. You know what I mean? So there'll be some crazy spot next week, but I think Nick Gage will be the one to take it. That's how Jericho will win. But James, thumbtacks, I don't think would be way over the top. I went through thumbtacks. I have yet to put the video up. I mean, you've all seen pictures of me with the thumbtacks. The thumbtacks, it's a weird thing, man. I don't think I have any photos handy. I'm looking. No, I really don't. But tomorrow I could show you. Oh, you know what? Yeah, here's I'll show you one. Here's one. This is long after the match. That was some that was still in me. It really wasn't much, but somebody snapped a shot with them in my head. Let me see if I can pull the one with my head up. It's only take me like 5 seconds. Let's see. I have other ones too, but these are, I have the video of it. Yeah, if you look at this one, like I had some pretty deep cuts in my head. Like they went into, my head a little bit, but it's an adrenaline rush. It's an adrenaline rush to go through a thumbtack. I mean, I don't recommend it for anybody, but trust me, I don't think that, put it this way. If you bring in Nick Gage and like, hey, we want you to do a hardcore match. And we were even thinking, Nick, can I call you Nick or Nicholas, Mr. Gage? Would you be interested in maybe taking some thumbtacks? I think he would look at you and start laughing his fucking ass off. Him taking thumbtacks is like, I don't know, like the hot dog eating champion, like coming over your house, like, look, we're going to have hamburgers, but, I have a hot dog in the fridge. Would you like a hot dog? This is after somebody eating 80. So, but this is a great question. Harris B poses an awesome question that I know a lot of you out there would love this as well. Would I rather take thumbtacks or Legos? It's not even close. I would rather take thumbtacks than Legos. In fact, I think Moxley would be the only crazy motherfucker to say, nah, man, give me the Legos. Legos, I don't know if any of you out there over the years ever like walked around your house, whether they were yours or you had a kid and you accidentally stepped on a Lego barefoot. It is one of the most painful experiences. And then the worst part is that if you were like extremely heavy, like I'm still heavy, but if you were as heavy as I used to be and I stepped on it, when the Lego stuck to my foot, and then when I pulled it out, there's like these little round holes like indented in my foot. It's one of the most painful things, man. Seriously. I mean, you really want to get revenge on someone. You want to brawl. You brawl inside a Walmart. If you happen to brawl with somebody for real in the toy section, you look over and you see like Legos, fuck this wiffle ball bat. You're trying to grab a weapon that somebody's legitimately beating your ass. Grab the Legos, throw it on the floor, and just drop their head in the Legos. You'll watch them cry like babies. Legos are painful. Oh, my God. So thank you, AS7607, for that. All right, let's talk a little CM Punk. Let's talk a little Daniel Bryan. We touched on it a little bit before. Thank you, Population 420. Look, if they sign, it is what it is. And once they sign, we look back on it and say, it was what it was. People know why I'm saying. By the way, before I say anything else, I got to show you this. I went today to get fingerprinted so I could renew my broker's license, insurance license for Florida. It's a requirement. And right before I left, I said, let me go on Twitter and let me see, what's going on. And on the right of Twitter, it gives you suggestions on who to like. You can't even make this up. I swear this is not a Photoshop. Twitter actually thinks that I may like who that? QT Marshall. I know they're coming out with thumbs down that you'll be able to do on posts. Oh, I can't wait to see that. I mean, the people out there that were getting tweet hand jobs when they realized that they're going to get twice as many thumbs down with the hand jobs. I don't know how they're going to react to that. And I don't know if you could disable it as well. But if Twitter happens to be tuning in, yeah, fuck you for the no verified stuff. I haven't applied lately, but after all the shit that I've done in my lifetime, even the stuff I did outside of this, and I have to actually try to prove myself, it's not even fucking worth it. But please do not send me that recommendation again. I will not accept it. Oh, they'll never verify me, man. I mean, I thought about applying, but I don't know. Doesn't really make much of a difference, but whatever. So, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. Or should we talk about this first? I know there was a little pause for my audio-only friends out there. I just posted a banner. Let's just bang this one out quick. Velveteen Dream. Rob Fury. Rob Fury is wrestled. Rob Fury is, I believe, the owner of this promotion. He pussied out. He melted. He caved in the cancel culture. Now, maybe I wouldn't have made a banner and the way they plugged it on social media, that they were welcoming Velveteen Dream. It's his first appearance since being released by WWE. When they posted that announcement, they disabled comments. They knew the backlash they were going to get. What happened was you had people, since they couldn't comment on that thread, they were telling other people out there, don't support this promotion. Don't go to this promotion. You're fucked up if you go to this promotion. Rob Fury is fucked up. This and that. And the motherfucker caved in. And what's even worse, now, when I say caved in, he removed Velveteen Dream from the card. Velveteen Dream's return to pro wrestling, the announcement lasted 109 minutes today, just so people know. Rob Fury's announcement, after pulling that, tell me if this makes sense. Because I've read it a couple of times, and I don't know who his English teacher was growing up, but I don't know what the fuck he's trying to say in this. Rob Fury says, and I quote, maybe if I read it to you out loud, maybe it'll make sense. Tonight, we announced Velveteen Dream would be appearing at our home sweet home event. Okay? Sentence makes total sense. And he says this, I believe any man can be slandered and have been through other situations in my life unrelated but untrue. Let me say that sentence again. This is word for word. I believe any man can be slandered and have been through other situations in my life unrelated but untrue. What the hell does that mean? So anyway, the final sentence says, after careful consideration, Dream has been removed. I don't know what the fuck he was trying to say in that second sentence, but I would have rather just said, I caved into cancel culture. I don't want to lose ticket sales. I don't want to be labeled an asshole. I don't want to be labeled as an enabler. I don't want to. Man, this guy knew exactly who he was bringing in. He knew exactly the story with Velveteen Dream. He thought that he was going to get a surge of people who wanted to see Velveteen Dream get his ass kicked, and people who were going to come out and support the guy because he never was found, guilty on any of this stuff. Some of the perception looked awful, and I still think Velveteen Dream made a tragic mistake not trying to dispel this from the beginning. But this guy, I don't know what that sentence is. I believe any man can be slandered and have been through other situations in my life unrelated but untrue. I don't even know what that means. If he's trying to say that, he believes that some people could be accused of things, well, why the fuck did you remove him? And you knew what went on before. Velveteen Dream, I said it before, his best chance is for him to return to wrestling either outside. I know this is going to sound really messed up. He's either going to have to return outside of the United States or, and I'll say this very, very carefully, or for a promotion that focuses on a particular demographic. And the reason why I say that is that there's some promotions out there that target a specific demographic that there's a lot of people who would not dare criticize that promotion for targeting one specific demographic. As almost if you don't meet a certain criteria, then almost like you're not wanted there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking gay here. I want to make that clear. It's not any of that. But that's his only chance, because no matter where he tries to return to, I think Joey Ryan is experiencing this now. Go figure. Andrade ends up taking on Alberto, and look, he didn't even think there was a problem with it. So some people get away with things and some people have a real difficult time. Yeah. So, all right. So now we can finally focus on Punk and Daniel Bryan. Now, the rest of the TV recap I'm going to say tonight, I'm just going to go through the matches quick. There's no reason to get into every move of everything. Give you my overall thoughts. I have something to say big time about Nyla Rose versus Britt Baker. I got something to say about that in a few moments. But anyway, all right, here's the deal. First of all, there's been rumblings for a while now that AEW would love to have CM Punk in that company. CM Punk is content, and he's financially, his future is secure. He does have a love for pro wrestling, but obviously pro wrestling in 2021 is not what it was from back in the day. Of course, CM Punk is a very intelligent businessman. If CM Punk truly wanted to do something in wrestling, like 1 or 2 times, which he did, he would make a cameo appearance for a promotion. Promotions out there, when you bring someone in like Punk, even if it's not for a match, but for a run-in or a cameo, or whatever, even if he's unannounced, you can't afford to pay that kind of money for someone like that. So that's where he will do it more for the love and for the people that he is friends with in wrestling still. But CM Punk, if he is going to return to pro wrestling, you best damn believe that he is going to insist on some creative control. I know when you look back to Hogan and Nash and a lot of wrestlers in WCW, even though Bischoff has, disputed that, some wrestlers had some creative control. Some did not have very much of it. They could balk at something, but they couldn't dictate how their career was going to be written in WCW. So in 2021, there are very few wrestlers that have that kind of authority. You know, you look at AEW, obviously the ones who are in management do have a lot of control. They're in management. They work behind the scenes. They're the ones pulling the switches. Why the fuck do you think we got Who Dat on TV every week? You know, like it's like an addiction. Like he must be on, even if it's for 5 seconds. He works his ass off. He feels that he deserves that small amount of time because of the amount of work he puts in. You know, who am I really to judge that? You know what I mean? I might do it myself. But with CM Punk, you best damn believe that he's going to have a decent amount of control as far as what he does in AEW. Money, obviously, is a huge part of it as well. AEW would give him more of a creative freedom to say what he wants to say. CM Punk, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but CM Punk is a very, very vulgar person. CM Punk does like to use expletives. So CM Punk going into AEW would have a lot more creative freedom of what he could do, what he would say. He would be able to run off with his mouth a little bit more. There's very few people in wrestling still that's left that you could bring into AEW, and I would say, yeah, I have no problem them leapfrogging other people. Believe it or not, Brock Lesnar is not one of them. People say to me all the time, what do you think about Brock Lesnar going to AEW? And I say, I hate it. I hate it. Why do I hate it? Because I can't picture Brock Lesnar leapfrogging Kenny Omega. I can't picture Brock Lesnar leapfrogging Cody. Yeah, there might be a storyline where Lesnar attacks Cody, but in the overall scheme of things, you have this promotion building for a couple of years. And then you just going to have Brock Lesnar leapfrog, Hangman Page, and all these others who have done the slow burn to get to the top. I think that would piss off a lot of people out there, including a lot of fans. I don't think Brock Lesnar would be a great fit at all. Seriously, I don't like it. CM Punk, though, if CM Punk came in and leapfrogged a few people there, because of who he is and because of the amount of a cult following he has and because he still has years left. You know, I mean, listen, they've used that phrase for a little while now. 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40. That's actually true. So this guy has enough years left that he can still put on a great performance, and especially Daniel Bryan. I mean, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania, before WrestleMania, the guy still does a crazy-ass phenomenal job. And I'm going to go back and forth with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk while I'm saying this. But Daniel Bryan, first of all, he's married with children. Great TV show. Daniel Bryan's schedule will be far lighter in AEW than WWE. If Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle in Japan, which is something he has expressed that he would like to do, he will have that freedom to go to Japan. Obviously, cannot contradict AEW schedule unless AEW signs off on it. You remember not too long ago that Daniel Bryan said that he would like to broker a deal where WWE and Japan or New Japan or something would be able to do some stuff together. Well, if you remember early in the year in January when we picked up on Nakamura and we were concerned. He was getting a little bit of a buzz, beating Daniel Bryan, getting some great matches. And then a lot of us were like, shit, here comes the Royal Rumble. They're just pushing up Nakamura, because of the Rumble and because they don't have too many people on SmackDown that feel like they could main event and challenge Roman. And it felt like a tease. And once the Rumble went, a lot of Nakamura's momentum as well. Yes, they're doing the King stuff now, but, Then you go to Cesaro. Cesaro in January. Oh, Cesaro's on great momentum. credit Daniel Bryan for that. How many reports said that? Daniel Bryan is the one responsible for Nakamura getting wins and Cesaro getting wins. Remember when Cesaro fought Roman Reigns? And what did we say leading up to it? This is WWE just giving hardcore fans what they want. Cesaro to have a title match. What did I say on the predictions? The minute he loses that match with Roman Reigns, he is out of the main event picture. The carcass wasn't even cold yet. And Seth Rollins comes out there and destroys Cesaro. And look at with Cesaro, does he have any push right now? Main event? Nothing. Zero. You look back on it and you say to yourself, maybe Daniel Bryan didn't have as much of the push or the involvement. Maybe Daniel Bryan recommended things, but it didn't seem like WWE really followed through on a lot of it. So now you go back to now with Japan. Daniel Bryan would love to see stuff happening with New Japan, this and that. And I think WWE realized, like, man, we got the Summer of Cena. Summer of Cena. That's why I titled today Summer of Punk 2021. I'll take it. WWE has got the Summer of Cena. They got Becky Lynch coming back. They have enough huge names that Daniel Bryan, and I'm not saying this is a diss to Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan, there is nothing that Daniel Bryan could do in WWE right now that is going to spark spikes in ratings. Maybe in NXT to a certain extent, but how much of a spike? 50,000 viewers, 100,000 viewers. I mean, and what are you going to do? Have Daniel Bryan win the NXT championship and start beating everyone? We would love it, but then people say, but wait a minute, this is about building the stars of tomorrow. Daniel Bryan starts losing to this guy and this guy and this guy and LA Knight, and then people will be like, he's just there to help enhance other people. And what happens? Psh, rating goes right back down. So I personally think if WWE could let go of Braun Strowman, please, I'm not putting Braun Strowman and Daniel Bryan on the same level. Daniel Bryan, obviously. But if they could let go of Braun Strowman out of nowhere, a big monster that is truly in the best shape of his life and was actually doing a decent job, that should tell everyone that there's no one person below the main eventers that they feel will make or break their shows. A lot of people are very expendable. Daniel Bryan, although he would have some great matches still, of course he would. Where does he fit in the scheme of things? They did a stipulation where he's off SmackDown. Okay, you put him back on Raw. All right, I'd love to see him go at it with Riddle. I'd love to see him go at it with AJ Styles. I'd love to see it. But the problem is, Riddle and AJ Styles are in tag team content right now. So what do? You put him up against Xavier Woods. You put him up against... There's not a whole lot. You put Daniel Bryan in AEW, there's about 15 people that you could have him go up against, and people would love it. There's a couple of fantasy matches in there that people would love to see take place in AEW. So AEW offers him a decent money contract, limited dates, still could be a family man. Go to Japan, have some freedom if he wants to work another show somewhere else. It fits perfectly. You know, some people back in the day left WWE to go to TNA, and a lot of times it was for a limited schedule. Christian is a perfect example of that. When Christian went to TNA, you know, one of the things was that he wanted to be home in Florida, and after the show was over, he could sleep in his own bed, be with his wife, be with his neighbors. I remember that interview clearly, and I haven't seen that interview in over a decade. He did that because they offered him decent money, limited schedule, promised him push, obviously, but when he was done, he could go home at night. And, you know, when you work a more limited schedule with AEW, you know, this is very appealing for Daniel Bryan, who is now married with children. and is at the latter stages of his career. But the guy, and this is the most important thing about it, the guy could still bang out incredible quality matches. You put him against someone that he wants to face, that other person really wants to face him as well, that's where you create magic. When both sides are foaming at the mouth, like just so into it, you could tell. I bring it up with Tommaso Ciampa. I pick it up on him more than anybody else in NXT. Like sometimes when you see his matches, like you could just feel like this guy is having fun. Like you just see him, like the amount of cardio and just the stuff he's doing during the match, it comes across on the TV like that's a guy that truly is having a good time right now. So Daniel Bryan, I think, would be a beautiful fit in AEW. CM Punk, obviously, as well. Here's the thing, though. I could see Daniel Bryan coming into AEW and not fighting for the heavyweight title for 6 months to a year. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. If he came into AEW and feuded with a handful of names, if he didn't fight for the heavyweight title, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. Christian, AEW put in the top 5 this week in their rankings. Now, I don't pay attention to the rankings, but them putting Christian in the top 5 where his record is like 5-0. There's not many matches. That's telling because it feels like, all right, there might have been a little bit of a promise there that Christian is going to get a title opportunity, and especially with them returning to house shows and touring, I think one of those house shows is going to feature Christian versus Kenny Omega, as long as Kenny Omega is still champion. So, but I don't feel Christian, in the end, remaining in the title picture. Daniel Bryan, if he didn't fight for a title in the near future, I don't think anybody, look, TNT title, obviously, no problem. I'm talking about heavyweight title. I'm talking about Omega's belt. Secondary titles, fine. If he wants to go for that, fine. But I think if we all realize that Daniel Bryan was not going to fight for the heavyweight championship for at least 6 months to a year, I don't think anybody would really have an issue with it. CM Punk, though, is a different case. You almost feel like CM Punk immediately has to go in the title contention. And here's how I feel about it. More than anything today, I saw more and more AEW fans say, okay, AEW is returning to Chicago. Obviously, we know what that means. His debut should be in Chicago. I think you almost have to advertise it because you want to spike the pay-per-view buy rate. You know, I know it would be an unbelievable surprise. Cena erupted the crowd at Money in the Bank. Can you imagine if CM Punk came out as a surprise? That building would shake, but you might need to advertise that in advance for the simple reason of the amount of pay-per-view buys that you would get from it. Smart business. But here's the thing, though. What I noticed today that, I'm not going to lie to you, I was like, man, that's kind of fucked up, is I saw a lot of people, not just 2 or 3, some people out there, they get caught in these, going on these rants, based on one person's tweet. It's ridiculous. But a lot of people were writing today, oh, I could see it. Kenny Omega beats Hangman Page at the pay-per-view. And before the fans could be pissed off that Hangman Page loses, CM Punk's music hits, and CM Punk hits the go to sleep to Kenny Omega. And now Kenny Omega now is going to feud with CM Punk. And a lot of people were saying that's a fucking awesome idea. Man, I don't know if I want to see CM Punk leapfrog Hangman Page after all this time. I know some people out there still feel that Hangman Page just doesn't feel like should be the heavyweight champion yet. But man, that guy has been doing a slow burn for 2 years. And this storyline with Kenny Omega almost feels it has to result in Hangman Page winning this championship. It's got to be a feel-good moment, not just for the fans, but for Hangman Page too. And when fans immediately say, yeah, that's a feel-good moment, that would be awesome. But how epic would it be if CM Punk feuded with Kenny Omega? That would be, people would get unhinged. And now it gets into the territory where, and would you really want to see CM Punk versus Hangman Page? Right off the bat? No. Would I be fine? This is my compromise. Hangman Page defeats Kenny Omega for the championship. But if Gallows and Anderson or anybody from the Elite comes out to try to help Kenny Omega, CM Punk comes out, hits his music, and lays out Omega or someone else. Hangman Page becomes the champion, and CM Punk's first feud is with Kenny Omega, no title on the line. And that kind of diverts Kenny Omega from the heavyweight title picture immediately. So now you could have Hangman Page focus on someone else for a little while. And you know what's the best part about it? And I know this is going to sound tiny for a lot of you. When you really think about it, seriously, take a moment and think about this. I think this is probably one of the coolest things if CM Punk were to return. Think back to Sunday's Money in the Bank. The minute you heard Cena's music, everybody erupted, mostly everybody. Almost everybody at home was like, holy shit. Everybody popped. I popped. We all popped. WWE does not own Cult of Personality. I know it's not the best theme to a lot of people for CM Punk, but if you just picture that music hitting in AEW, that very beginning of it, it's just as epic as when you hear the first couple of notes of CM Punk's theme or anybody else. When Brock Lesnar made his return many years ago and destroyed Cena the night after WrestleMania, as soon as you heard that first tone of Brock Lesnar, the place went mad. The place went mad. So you don't have to look. I like Ruckus, and Ruckus is awesome with theme music. But my God, there's no theme that Ruckus could create that you play it on the speakers. I don't want Excalibur to be like, whose music? You recognize that music? Who is that? Who's coming out? I don't want to hear that shit. Play fucking Cult of Personality. This way, the minute that note hits, everybody and their grandmother knows CM Punk is coming out. That would possibly be the number one moment in AEW to date. It would be freaking incredible. Yeah, you could see, I don't think the Straight Edge Society would reunite. Mike, just because Serena Deeb is there and Gallows is there and then CM Punk is there, and it doesn't mean we need a photographical moment. Gallows is part of the Elite. Doesn't fit the storyline. I would not do a reunion. It would be stupid right now. It would make no sense. Down the line, maybe under different circumstances. But look, the negotiations between CM Punk and AEW is legit. They have heated up. Obviously, with the return to touring and the return of live fans, and also keep in mind the amount of money that is being made on these shows. The New York event, I brought this up last week. I had the opportunity to get 2 front row tickets for their Queen show. $4,000 for 2 tickets. Sorry, no offense. I'd rather take that $4,000 and buy mine and my fiance's wedding bands. I'm going to spend enough money to buy a used car for 2 tickets for a wrestling event for 2 hours. That 3 hours, that's kind of stretching it there. There are people that would pay that money. And there are people that have dropped $1,000 a ticket for AEW. If you have it and you want to spend it that way, go ahead. I'm not one of those that's going to call somebody stupid because they want to drop a bunch of money whether it's to go to Mania or go to a wrestling event or go on a Jericho cruise or go here. If you got it, you work your ass off for it, you put that money aside. I don't care what label is on that piggy bank. If you if you have a countdown clock for some event you want to go to, if that what makes you happy, go right ahead. Go right ahead. But when you're talking about money like that, then you start thinking about this roster and you start adding some names to it. Now you got some serious momentum. When the TV deal comes up in a year and a half or whatever it is, where you got to start renegotiating and you got these big names in that company and you got some decent ratings behind it, you're selling out buildings and you're doing great in the pay-per-view buy rates. You know, they got a $155 million TV deal before they did anything. Mostly anything. Imagine they start amping it up a notch, what the deal could be like the next time around. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like AEW, and they make sure to tell you that on social media, Twitter especially. But if AEW signs Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, now you got a bunch of fantasy matches that could run for those two guys for the next year. Then you have your core roster there. You got your MJF, and you got your Guevara, and you got your Kenny Omega, and you got the Young Bucks, and you got FTR, and then you got Luchasaurus, and then you got the progression of Jungle Boy, and then you got all the Lucha stars. I mean, you just go on and on and on. And then if you get Thunder Rosa for a more exclusive deal, and then you bring in another couple of women to really take that women's division to another level instead of having one match per week, that TV deal could double in revenue. Why not? Why not? And here's my point as far as people that don't like AEW. Competition is good. And if AEW starts getting momentum, that forces WWE's hand. That forces WWE to maybe overpay to convince someone to jump ship. Maybe they're forced to go a little bit more over the top on some of their content. Maybe they're forced to go in a certain direction because fans want it, even if they disagree with it. So the more AEW does well, the more that forces WWE's hand. And not only that, that forces the other promotions as well. You know, AEW is not stupid. AEW has been the MVP of all these promotions allowing people to work a little bit, because AEW has the biggest audience. And when you see some names come in from a different promotion, AEW seems to benefit the most. Impact Wrestling's numbers have not gone up at all. They've gone down because Impact Wrestling immediately thought that their fans were AEW fans. And in the process, you think Impact, look, I know there's a storyline involved, and I know that this is leading to a bigger picture. How do you think Impact Wrestling fans feel about Moose losing to Omega, about Callahan losing to Omega? I mean, in storyline, when Sami Callahan wrote on social media that Kenny Omega has our property, and then Impact Wrestling takes their whole roster and goes on social media and they say, we want back our property. And you do a no DQ match and 90% of that roster has their thumb up their ass doing Ricochet impersonations in the locker room. How does that make Impact Wrestling look? Seriously, think about that for a minute. Just think about Slammiversary. And you think about the storyline leading up to it. Fucking the people in catering, the people that wash the floors, everybody should have come out there and beat the living crap in storyline out of Kenny Omega to get back what is theirs. But instead, people have their thumb. The ice cream man was outside. Mr. Softy was outside. That's why some people, just think about that for a minute. I know, you know, it seems very deep, but you got this small core audience of Impact Wrestling fans that in droves are not liking this. There's nobody on what W. Morrissey is going to finally get back the title. What the wrestlers in storyline picking him up in the air and walking him around the ring, they're going to be more excited than the fans. This is almost like AWA Vern Gagne shit. When Vern Gagne kept trolling the fans, making them think that Hogan was going to win the title and he would get screwed. And in the end, Bockwinkel would retain. Because he knew that they were selling out the building because they wanted to see Hogan tear apart Bockwinkel. And it's on the documentaries. And he kept trolling them because he wanted to milk one more sold-out event with Hogan as the challenger, because Hogan as the challenger was money. And the fans were like, fuck you, Vern. And then Hogan left. And Vern was just, fucked. It was the beginning and the end. It took a couple of years. So Punk comes in there. He could obviously still go. His schedule would be light enough that he could still put on phenomenal effort. Daniel Bryan coming in there could still do enough. I think he would be a step above Christian on the activity level, but would be a step down from a lot of other wrestlers on the roster. Here's the only thing, and then we'll move on. Here's the only thing with this, with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. You got 2-hour shows. You got Rampage also, you got Dark, and you got Elevation. At some point, they got to start trimming down this roster a little bit. Because I'll use the Acclaimed as an example. You watch Dynamite every week. How you like the momentum for the Acclaimed right now? I don't want to hear injury or no injury. How do you feel about the momentum? Private Party. I mean, how is that momentum going? I mean, say what you want about Jungle Boy. Had an awesome match with Kenny Omega, got his 50th win. Does it feel like he has any fucking push right now? No, he's there to make the fans happy. But does it feel there's any progression? No. And then you look at the women's side. I personally think AEW really, really hurt Nyla Rose's career today. Her current, not her career, but her current status in AEW. I understand Britt Baker is the women's champion. Britt Baker has improved significantly, and the fans are really into Britt Baker right now. No question. But when you have Nyla Rose, who is a beast, a monster, and she's doing every epic power move on Britt Baker, and Britt Baker is kicking out of everything. It got to the point where you look at it and it's like people are being stretchered out from these moves, and Britt Baker is kicking out of everything. I feel this took a major step back in Nyla Rose's career tonight, because Nyla Rose, I know some of you, have your views about her and the women's division. I respect your views. I disagree with a lot of them. I respect it. But the thing is, when you want to make Britt Baker look like Superwoman, Superman, Superwoman, fine. But when you have Nyla Rose doing crazy ass shit in that ring, and Britt Baker is just kicking out of everything, and then immediately later does the mandible claw and is acting like she didn't get injured at all. It's just not believable. And where does Nyla Rose go from here? What is she going to do? Start getting angry and putting people through tables again? Where does that go? It just feels like they don't have any momentum right now for almost everybody on that women's division. I mean, it's just, to me, that was a major step back tonight. Yeah, that's another thing. 2 curb stomps. I understand, what people have said about Adam Cole and Seth Rollins in the past. But I don't know how any of you feel about this, but I know growing up and following wrestling, especially when it's promotions on TV, you usually did not use someone else's finisher as your own. I think the most notorious one that people have found out over the years was Triple H using the diamond cutter early on. But here's the thing. When you have Nyla Rose eating a curb stomp, and yes, she kicked out of 2 of them, is that more of a slap in the face of Seth Rollins that, like somebody is kicking out of 2 curb stomps when that's technically his finisher? I don't know if anybody looks at it that way, but I tell you, Britt Baker is doing a great job, but in the process, that women's division is a mess right now. It is a mess. And I know Serena Deeb behind the scenes is working her ass off to help the young stars of tomorrow. But my God, you're going to bring in Andrade. You're going to bring in Malachi Black. You're going to bring in Daniel Bryan. You're going to bring in CM Punk. How's it about solidifying some deals with some of the best women in the world? And you know why they're not doing it? Because they're getting women from other promotions to work some of the cards, and they basically are getting it without having to put them under contract. I think you got to start getting some exclusive deals with some of the top women. And when we watch those women, look, I love Thunder Rosa. And I've said it many times. She's the only woman I have 3 shirts of, women's shirts. I enjoy her work. To me, I've said it for well before a lot of people picked up on Thunder Rosa that she is one of the top, maybe top 5 women in wrestling today that are on TV right now. The thing is like, okay, she shows up on Impact Wrestling, and people are like, Thunder Rosa is the greatest of our current generation. Why? Because she works 1 match here and 1 match here and 1 match for this promotion in a month, 1 here. She's working her ass off, and it's awesome to see. But let's keep it in perspective a little bit. It's just people see that, and AEW's really got to work on that women's division. There's really no excuse for it. And look, I'm not trying to make fun of names or anything like that, but you can't just sit back and say, oh, we got Bobo Nakazaki coming in, and we got Juja Gobaguba coming in, or blah, 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 and just bringing in. Look, Japanese talent, there's a lot of Japanese women that I like. I love Yuka Sakazaki. I think Rio is great. Emi Sakura is great. They got some awesome, talented women in Japan, but this feels fucking lazy. Like you have so many. Look, Mickie James is setting up this pay-per-view for NWA. And you know what I see on social media that nobody talks about? I see women from all across the country, especially, hashtagging Mickie James. Take a look at my work. Notice me. Give me an opportunity. Give me a shot. And I look at some and I'm like, good for you for trying. Will they get a spot? I doubt it. But there's some that have it. And you can tell that they're on their way and they have something decent. And they're not getting noticed. You got Mickie James doing his whole pay-per-view. And it seems with AEW, we got to, get some extra women in here. Okay, let's bring 1 or 2 people in from Japan. Tony's paying for it. And it feels lazy. We got a whole country of women here that are begging to be noticed for this NWA pay-per-view. And someone may get a match on Dark, and they don't even get to showcase their talent because they're going up against someone like a Nyla Rose or someone like that, so they get squashed. So they get no chance of even showing what they got. I personally think that they need to start building this women's division, bringing some exclusive talent. Not somebody that's going to come in for a month from Japan. Not somebody that's going to work 9 promotions. You want to have some women in this company where you look at them and you're like, okay, she's AEW. So Keith Lee is on the main roster. That's why we're not talking about Keith Lee tonight. We can talk about it tomorrow if you'd like. So, let's talk about these two TV shows a little bit. By the way, you want to call in tomorrow and talk a little bit more about Punk and Daniel Bryan? Absolutely. I personally think, right now we should talk about the possibilities and what could happen. Until it's official, all we can do is look at the possibilities. People saying, I like it, I don't like it. It hasn't happened yet. Till it's made official. And who knows? Who knows? We may hear an announcement in the next week or two about one of these two guys. I will tell you, if CM Punk is very outspoken, and I think if there was no truth to the rumors of CM Punk having some pretty intense negotiations right now with AEW, I think CM Punk would write something on social media to shoot that shit down. I mean, I understand talk good about me, talk bad about me, just talk about me. But CM Punk is one of those that if a lot of websites start posting a lot of shit that's not true, he's one that would kind of like put in people's faces. So we'll see what happens. But that'd be two really nice signings. Two nice signings. Shout out to James Pasco. Thank you very much, my friend. Harris is asking me, did I have a problem with WCW bringing in AAA guys, taking spots from the cruiserweights? No, because in 1995, the cruiserweight division was almost non-existent. It was almost non-existent. In fact, I don't even think the cruiserweight championship was around for that long prior to that. Didn't it go away for a little while? Didn't it come back with like Dean Malenko or something like that? No, they were building a division at that time. They weren't taken away. Right now, a lot of what you see, even with the women, it's a very, very thin division. I mean, you look at Hikaru Shida. I love Hikaru Shida. They have her still in the top 5. Quote Janet Jackson, it's outdated, but what have you done for me lately? Ooh, yeah. What has she done? Ethan Page loses a coffin match. She's no longer in the top 5. We got to put Christian in there. Does that make sense? They got to start tightening the ship a little bit. You can't have somebody cut a promo, be in an intense storyline, and then disappear for 2 weeks. Not in the age of instant gratification. You want to do a little injury thing? Fine. You want to do a little suspension thing? Fine. But to just have that's why I said they give him credit for fixing the problem with Jon Moxley. But how horrendous was that he, quote unquote, got screwed out of the championship late last year. And his whole storyline is, I eat, sleep, and shit this, and I'll die for that belt. He gets screwed. And what happens in storyline? He goes home for 2 months. That was just horrendous. The easiest thing, the scenario I brought up at that time, the easiest thing, the first Dynamite right after that pay-per-view, he should have hit the ring. I'm not leaving this ring until that son of a bitch comes out there and confronts me face to face. You screw me out of the title, because he was unhinged. And you could have had Jerry Lynn or other people come out there, the officials trying to get Moxley out of there. Moxley could have laid them all out with paradigm shifts. And then they could do an arrest angle, or they could escort him out of the building. And then Tony Khan on social media, Jon Moxley has been suspended indefinitely due to his actions. That's how you take him off TV. But no, instead, a guy that says he will die for the championship, gets screwed out of it, and then goes home for 2 months. I mean, we know why. Renee and the pregnancy. So, we understand personally, but as far as the storyline wise, it was horrible. Where's Miro been? Taking a couple of weeks off. Good example. Is he advertised for next week? I don't think so. They have a lot of names, and some of them are being used a little bit too thin. All right. Just to run through a little bit of the matches tonight. Hikuleo, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Hikuleo. He is the son of Haku. He was in attendance tonight, member of the Bullet Club. AEW made sure to mention that a few times. He was sitting ringside. He was going to take on the winner next week of Moxley and Lance Archer from tonight. So we will see Haku-san wrestle on Dynamite next week. Big boy. You would never think it, right? Lance Archer is like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", and he's big boy. He looked like he was an inch taller than Lance Archer. Opening match tonight, Jericho versus Shawn Spears. MJF on commentary, which was priceless. Dumb moment number one. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed Dynamite tremendously tonight. But I will give you my thoughts on things that I thought were rather stupid. We have Tully Blanchard distracting Aubrey Edwards. Shawn Spears brings a chair in the ring. Jericho has the walls of Jericho on Shawn Spears. Jericho and Spears is trying to grab the chair so he can hit Jericho while the referee's not looking. Now, I just want you to picture this. And if you watched the match and you didn't notice this before, what does Hit Row say? You didn't know, now you know. Well, I'll do a little revision of that. If you didn't notice, now you notice. 30 seconds went by, and Shawn Spears is fondling the chair. Is this metal or is this graphite? Is this considered silver or is this kind of hit the fucking guy? And the whole point of that segment, Tully Blanchard is distracting Aubrey Edwards so Shawn Spears can use a weapon he's not allowed to use in the match. And I swear to God, go back and watch this. As Tully Blanchard is distracting Aubrey Edwards for 30 goddamn seconds, Shawn Spears is playing around with the chair and doesn't hit Jericho. What happens? Aubrey Edwards turns around and is looking at Spears and Jericho, and Spears wails Jericho with the chair. And what does she do? What's the point of distracting the referee to do something you're not supposed to, just to do it, and the referee's looking right at you and the referee does nothing? It was awful. I understand we all go home happy. Chris Jericho had the Judas effect. It was a fun match. But things like that piss me off, and I'll give you another reason why. Frankie Kazarian took on Doc Gallows tonight and lost. You know, the elite hunter has become the hunted. I think we all expected that line to be used. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I'm going to go back, but I'm going to make a point. After the match is over, the elite are beating down Frankie Kazarian. And Jim Ross says that the referee should threaten these guys with suspensions for all attacking Frankie Kazarian. I'm saying this with the utmost sincerity to AEW management. You got to stop having your commentators make remarks like this. After 2 fucking years of people attacking people, doing anything they want in the ring, it is dopey, moronic. It sounds stupid. It's almost worse than Jim Ross saying, "Welcome to WWE Dynamite." Because how dumb is it that every week the commentators are saying, the referee needs to stop this. The referee should be suspending them for doing this. They should be doing it. You got to say that. And nothing ever happens. Aubrey Edwards is distracted, so Shawn Spears can use a chair that he's not allowed to do, otherwise get disqualified. She turns around, looks at Spears, and I'm telling you, when you look at these things a little bit closer, you know, it's like indie wrestling. And some of it is not a negative. We go to indie wrestling events. It's a one event. It's not really designed to go to the next show unless you're in that area. And you just go home happy. Not everything makes sense, but if you had fun, that's all that matters. But this not enforced, I brought it up the other day. Has there ever been a count out in AEW? Has there ever been a disqualification in AEW? I can't remember one. I mean, what's the purpose of distracting referees when everybody could do whatever the fuck they want anyway? I have to do some research, and I got to see. I have a feeling there probably has been at least one, but I don't recall any. Why is Tully Blanchard distracting a referee when people do what they want anyway? Bryce, wasn't it Bryce that was refereeing Orange Cassidy? Oh, because he grabbed the knucks, from the blade. It's okay to use it. Yeah, it's all right. He got it. Use him if you got him. He just knocks the guy out. And the best part is after, I know the match was over, but Orange Cassidy grabbing the brass knucks and laying out the blade is the same as the Elite laying out Kazarian after the match is over. Tell me what the difference is. Why, is only one person doing it? The other way, it's 3 people doing it. It's the same goddamn thing. You have the commentators saying, these people should be suspended for attacking him after the match. But Orange Cassidy grabs the knucks in front of the referee and everyone else, lays out the blade, and what does the referee do right after that? Lifts his hand up in victory. Why don't you put the knucks too? Why don't you shove them up your ass and see if it kind of feels, if the metal tingles you a little bit? Maybe we could, it's just, like I said, when you actually dissect this a little bit further, it's going to get to a point where people are going to be like, man, this is kind of stupid. It's laziness. It's laziness. I mean, you've had a lot of wrestlers over the last 2 years, speak out on this, and it goes on deaf ears. But, when you don't pay attention to detail, there's going to be a good chunk of people that are just going to get turned off by it. If I want to see careless shit on indie level with some bigger name stars, then I'll go to my hometown. Shout out to Chris. I try to be a little funny about things. Look, I like AEW. I'm a fan of this, but I'm also very, specific about some of my critiques, and I think this is a big issue. Why distract the referee if you can do what you want anyway? Why is it okay for one person to do something, but the other person is not? I know we're wrestling fans. We're not supposed to think that deep, but trust me, if that turns off people, you got to have a little bit of logic here. Shout out to Austin. It was me, Austin. So after the match is over with Jericho and Shawn Spears, MJF comes out. Congrats on your win, even though you needed help from Sammy the Simp Guevara. What was a little odd is MJF says that nobody can interfere next week. Remember that? If anybody interferes next week, our deal is off. Could you announce a no rules match? Am I missing something here? If anybody interferes next week, no rules match. Anyway, he brings out Nick Gage. Nice pop from the crowd. Know that gave Nick Gage a lot of adrenaline. And next week, we're going to have the Painmaker. Jericho's coming back as the Painmaker, and he's going to take on Nick Gage. It should be a lot of fun. And Nick Gage will get paid well, and will take a crazy-ass bump. I think it's almost guaranteed. Kazarian loses to Gallows. After the match is over, he gets beat down. Callis comes out. This is what happens when you mess with the Elite. Kenny Omega comes out. The Elite Hunter has been hunted. Hangman Page comes out to confront him, and Don Callis is like, there's 4 of us and 1 of you. Are you that stupid, or you're just drunk? Somehow Hangman Page is able to lay out most of them. And ultimately gets beat down a little bit. Dark Order makes the save. This sets up the match that they're having next week. Dark Order got a nice pop coming out as well. So, my opinion, there's no way that Hangman Page and the Dark Order lose next week. Ricky Starks, next week they're going to have a big celebration for him winning the FTW title. Brian Cage sees Team Taz talking about this, and Brian Cage basically says, I'll be there next week. So Brian Cage will be there to crash the party. Wheeler Yuta loses to Darby Allin in a pretty quick match. AEW is pretty high on Wheeler Yuta. Would not surprise me if I see Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta. I like saying it like that, Utah. Sounds like Utah. I'm going to go to the state of Utah. I think they'll team up. But we had a moment tonight. I can't play the video. I don't want any copyright issues. My God, even on Twitter. I posted on Twitter. I wanted to share it here. Hobbs wrestled, I think, on Dark the other day. And he pinned someone. And he had that usual constipated look. He was like this. And then he broke out a smile. And he went like this. So I said, man, that's the same look on my face when I fart. Seriously. And I took a fart sound and I spliced it in. And it looks like he's got the constipated look on his face. And as soon as he's got that look, you hear the fart and then it turns into a grin like, I just let one out. And on social media, on Twitter, it looks hilarious. I wanted to open up with it tonight. It's only 5 or 6 seconds long. But I was like, man, I'm not taking any chances with AEW fucking giving me a strike. Because I've seen some weird shit happen to other people. And, I know 5 seconds should be fair use, but I'm not taking a chance. Go on my Twitter, @DonTonyD, and go check it out. It's pretty funny. I think you'll get a kick out of it. So we had this epic moment where Sting and Orange Cassidy are exchanging the Cassidy kicks. And then they step back and they, wheeled up a little bit, and Sting hits Orange Cassidy with the tip of his foot. And then because it's so slow, Sting, when, he usually beats his chest, goes, he went like this in slow motion. He went like this. Like it was so funny, man. I mean, I understand it's stupid to do in the ring, but at least AEW has done it right. I think the best example is when Orange Cassidy took on Pac. And Orange Cassidy started doing those kicks in the ring, and the fans are going, oh. And then Pac didn't sell it like it hurt. Pac just laid his ass out. So AEW utilizes it the right way. But the stuff with Sting tonight with Orange Cassidy was hilarious. It's worth going out of your way to check it out. Shortly thereafter, Darby Allin gets the win. Then the Blade knocks out Orange Cassidy to set up their match later on, which I already mentioned. Orange Cassidy gets the win. Blade tried to use the Nux, the referee not looking. Orange Cassidy was able to lay him out anyway. Orange punch. And after he was laid out and got the pin, he grabs the Nux that were the Blades, puts them on, and knocks out the Blade unconscious. The referee's cool with it. So I guess if they're cool with it, we're cool with it, right? Nyla Rose losing to Britt Baker, as I said earlier. The match was not all that good, in my opinion. Did not tell a story at all. It just, to me, it made Nyla Rose's offense look very, very inferior. And all of that build to make her into a monster, to have Britt Baker kick out of the things that she kicked out, to me, it hurt Nyla Rose big time, in my opinion. They advertised Fight for the Fallen that takes place next week. One of the matches next week is FTR versus Santana Ortiz. Tony Schiavone moderating, a little back and forth. I guess it was like a little press conference thing. FTR, showing a little respect for Santana Ortiz. They all came up from poverty, but in the end, I think it was Cash that said that the only 3 things I care about is God, my family, and pro wrestling. The only thing left to do is kick the shit out of you, beat your asses. Santana is showing pictures of his mom, the first ghetto apartment they had in the Bronx. Showed another picture. I guess she was in court trying to keep their apartment, basically showing how they came from the streets. And Ortiz said that FTR is just a pit stop for them to get the tag titles. Like I said before, you don't have Santana or Ortiz anywhere near gold. I think Moxley losing his championship tonight is going to lead to him teaming up with Eddie Kingston once again. I think Eddie Kingston and Moxley will reform that tag team almost immediately. And I think that sets up them versus the Young Bucks for the New York show. Or it's going to be the Young Bucks versus Kingston and someone else for the New York show. The segment with Andrade, as I mentioned earlier, Chavito was announced as Andrade's executive consultant. Got a nice pop from the fans. Looks good. And, he basically just says, the locker room is talented, but not as talented as Andrade. Andrade wants the Death Triangle. They come out cutting promos. At one point, I thought Phoenix and Penta were going to turn on Pac, but Andrade saying, no, you do not work for Pac. You work for me. So, like I said earlier, hopefully after they have that run, facing each other, then they'll form some type of Latino group. Best they've used Andrade so far. It was a fun exchange. Now we need to see matches. Let's see. Next week, like I said, next week we have Nick Gage versus the Painmaker. No rules match. We have Santana and Ortiz versus FTR. You have Angelico and Private Party versus Jurassic Express and Christian. Hikuleo versus Lance Archer for the IWGP US Championship. Tony Khan is going to make a major live event announcement. And the Elite versus Hangman Page and the Dark Order. And the stipulation is if Page and the Dark Order win, they get upcoming title matches. They lose, they get no title matches. And in 2 weeks, we're going to see Cody versus Malachi Black. So that's in 2 weeks. Pretty cool, pretty cool. We already talked about Archer versus Moxley earlier, but that was the main event tonight, and it started a little slow. Lance Archer was tremendously over because he was in Texas. That's where he lives, went to school, played sports there. Tremendously over, and the crowd freaking popped big when he beat Moxley for that title. It was a really fun main event. Both of them were busted open. A lot of weapons used. Like I said, started out maybe a little bit slow, but then quickly picked up after that commercial break. And fun night for AEW. Do I think they break 1 million again? Yeah, I do. I think they break 1 million again. It's going to be right around that 1 million mark. I mean, I don't know if they build from last week, but I would say if they don't break 1 million, they're going to be right around like 970. But there's no reason why they can't break a little bit over, especially with how great wrestling's been over the last week. I mean, you're not going to tune into AEW because SmackDown was good or Money in the Bank. But, if you're a wrestling fan and may have fallen out of touch with wrestling a little bit and you're hearing about everything that's gone on over the last 5-6 days, all right, maybe you give AEW another shot. So I'd be very surprised if the number, if it goes down, it goes down slightly. But again, we got to stop with because they have 850. Oh, there's a big problem. And then the next week, 1 million. Oh, they're going to average out to around 800,000 to 900,000. You bring in CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Yeah, we could up that number a little bit more. And it also has to reflect, what feuds they have, what storylines. So, look, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan. Now, on the NXT side, a little bit more mundane yesterday. Just very quickly, Roderick Strong and Tyler Rust, Diamond Mine, losing to Bobby Fish and Kushida. We had laughs for the last 2 weeks based on that Arturo Ruas interview. Exactly what we thought was going on with Diamond Mine leading up to their debut was exactly what we thought it was exactly what happened. Ruas explained it. You kind of feel bad for him. I think this deal with Diamond Mine is, unless they have a shocking person turn on someone and join the group, that group is, I don't want to say it's dead yet, but you could tell that WWE had buyer's remorse on this. They had second thoughts before they even launched it. We felt it too. And, the way Ruas explained it, man, they had some serious second thoughts, and it reflected yesterday. That loss, I have nothing against Tyler Rust, but I don't see any click with the fans' connection, even as a heel. In fact, something happened yesterday. I don't know if you picked up on it, but there was one point. Go back and watch it. I rewound it, watched it again to make sure I wasn't wrong on this. Nobody picked up on it. There was one point in the match yesterday where Tyler Rust was in the ring with Kushida. And the fans started chanting something. And Vic Joseph said, the fans are chanting, "We want Bobby. We want Bobby." And Vic Joseph says the fans are chanting, "We want Bobby." They want Bobby Fish to get a piece also. I don't remember exactly what he said, but in all truth, they were not chanting, "We want Bobby." They were chanting, "We want Roddy." They did not want Tyler Rust in that ring yesterday. They were the heel. They were chanting, "We want Roddy." That group, there's no momentum. I told you I was very concerned about Hideki Suzuki. Hideki Suzuki. I want to see him against Kushida, but you now have a couple of appearances, and all he does is stand there. He's a trainer. Oh, all right, yeah, so that's why I'm supposed to get into him. It's just not good. Another thing yesterday, Frankie Monet beat JC Jane, who got a lot more offense than I thought she was going to get. Mandy Rose shows up and is draped along the announcer's table. And Mish and I on Patreon yesterday said, is it just us, or does it feel like Mandy Rose has some attraction to Frankie Monet? I'm not leading to anything sexual, but something is a little different about this. It's not scoping out talent to manage. It feels something else. There's some type of attraction there. I mean, we'll know in the next 2 weeks, maybe even next week, where this goes from here. Kyle O'Reilly over Austin Theory, I thought was awesome. Austin Theory is quickly becoming one of my favorites there. The guy is obviously one of the big stars of tomorrow. He's almost like NXT's Sammy Guevara. He's got it. And it's funny, the interaction with him and Gargano. Last week, Gargano did it all himself. Didn't have Austin Theory out there. So, Austin, you're going to take on Kyle O'Reilly this week? You're going to do it, right? Okay, you can do it on your own. You want to be just like Johnny, right? Okay, you got to do it on your own. And Austin Theory ended up losing, but it was a fucking great match, man. Kyle O'Reilly, it's a shame that it feels like he's not getting as much momentum from the fans that WWE thought he would get, but take their time. Slow burn. No need to rush it. Their match yesterday was a hell of a lot of fun. We had a segment early on where LA Knight and Cameron Grimes pull up in a vet. LA Knight wants Grimes to get the bags from the trunk, a lot of bags. Drake Maverick shows up. Oh, let me help you with that. And LA Knight gets pissed off. So LA Knight gets a match against Drake Maverick. LA Knight pushing around Cameron Grimes a little bit, hold the title up, do this, do that, do this. Drake Maverick wins, I think with the fruit roll-up. And LA Knight is all shocked, and Cameron Grimes is kind of happy about it. LA Knight beats down Drake Maverick, and he tells Cameron Grimes, punch him in the face. Grimes is reluctant. The crowd doesn't want Grimes to do it. He eventually does do it, kind of regrets it. So it'll be a week coming up, I think in like 2 weeks, probably 2 weeks. Well, LA Knight will insist that Grimes does something, and Grimes will not do it and instead lay out LA Knight. That's where that's going. Fun segments. Odyssey Jones beating Andre Chase, the first round of the NXT Breakout Tournament. I am an Odyssey Jones fan. I was surprised that nobody made a big deal that he was on 205 Live last week. Why is somebody that big on 205 Live? The Nick Khan effect in full effect. Odyssey Jones reminds me of almost like Junkyard Dog. He's just big man, charisma, can move around, very agile, maybe even a little more agile than Junkyard Dog, but he's got something. I don't know what side Carmelo Hayes and Odyssey Jones are in this tournament. But if they end up on opposite brackets, that could very well be your final. Odyssey Jones versus Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, barring injury or fuck up, that guy's going to be a big, big star in the future. Almost nobody is paying attention to him right now. You watch. Now, early on, I'll get to Raquel and Xia Li in a second. Early on, Samoa Joe shows up. He wants a piece of Karrion Kross. Where is our young champion? Did a little Warriors come out to play? Yay. Old school friends out there of my shows remember that intro. So William Regal comes out. Joe, this is not what we agreed on. Joe said, you said that I could if I'm provoked. He was provoked. Some really dumb storyline that WWE tried to push where William Regal said, no, but you were a referee last week. Well, you still choked out. Oh, but you choked out as a referee. It's okay. It just, whatever they were trying to do with Regal, it was just like ass backwards. But Regal wants Joe to promise that when Kross shows up, that Joe doesn't do anything. Joe pretty much says, I respect you, but I'm not agreeing to that promise. So we realize that we're going off the air with something between Joe and Kross. Because we get the main event of Raquel Gonzalez versus Xia Li. Now, I want to make this perfectly clear. I was very surprised yesterday as to how many websites acted like they didn't know the truth. And I realized because they needed it to be a news item to get people to click. Instead of just being straight up with everyone and just saying it, they needed to make it a news story. The fact is, Xia Li was not injured yesterday. What they tried to do was they tried to mimic Mercedes Martinez's injury with Xia Li. You had the referee stop. You had her being checked for a split second. They put the camera only on Raquel Gonzalez for a few moments, pretty much mimicking what happened to Mercedes Martinez. Why did they do that? Because by them doing that yesterday, it doesn't make Mercedes Martinez's injury stand out as much. The telltale sign yesterday that there was nothing wrong with Xia Li, not even the finishing move. Because the referee, for some reason, said, oh, no, you could go. She could go. And then Raquel Gonzalez hit the slam, and defeated Xia Li. One move after that. They stopped the match for about 2 minutes. The telltale sign that Xia Li was not injured when they did an instant replay 11 times. If someone legitimately gets injured from a move and they don't want the focus to be on the injury, they don't replay it. They don't even show you the other wrestler. Mercedes Martinez, we never saw the camera on her again afterwards. I thought maybe Xia Li got busted open. I also thought maybe she got the wind knocked out of her. But when they turned her over and they showed the replay 11 times, they said, I don't see what Raquel Gonzalez did. She couldn't have knocked the wind out of her because of the way she landed. She didn't land on her head. She didn't land on, and then you realize they were just doing this to mimic Mercedes Martinez. And this time, by doing it that way, it's to show the power of Raquel Gonzalez. And I'll tell you this. The match between the two of them yesterday was pretty good. It was pretty good. You realize, I think Xia Li is 5'3". Mercedes is 6 foot, which seems short because I'm 6'3.5", and Raquel Gonzalez seems taller than 6 foot. But they worked out last week together, and all the reports were that they look great in the ring together. So it showed yesterday in their match. It was decent. I mean, you know, I don't know why Mei Ying wasn't there or Boa. You know, I mean, Xia Li cutting a promo earlier in the night that she's going to be the first Chinese NXT Heavyweight Champion, Women's Champion. The promo was good. She looked great. But, you know, stopping the match for 2 minutes and then having her do one move, that's how you beat Xia Li without dominating her and without making her look weak. If it looks like a freak injury, and then the referee for some reason says she could continue, and then, you know, Raquel hits one power move and gets the pin, it doesn't really hurt Xia Li all that much, you know, because she was already sort of injured, and the ref said that she could go, and she got, so that's why they did it. Doesn't matter, Benjamin, that Xia Li wanted to go at it alone. It's not the person's call. If someone is injured, the referee stops the match. But again, the fact that she even said that is even another telltale sign she was not injured yesterday. You know, people wanted to make it like a news story so they could get hits. And then once people started putting 2 to 2 together, they said, oh, reportedly she was backstage fine. She was okay. Notice how they never said she suffered a stinger, but she's now okay. She had the wind knocked out of her, but now she's okay. She was a little bit woozy or a little bit lightheaded from the spot, but she was okay. So all they said was she was backstage and okay. Funny how they didn't know what the cause was to stop the match, because there was nothing. Xia Li will not be hurt from this. She got her championship match. She went toe-to-toe with the champion for a little while. If you're concerned about Xia Li because of her size, I can't wait what you try to tell me about Dakota Kai versus Raquel Gonzalez. I mean, not for nothing. You look at Dakota Kai, I mean, how much does she weigh? 105? Dakota Kai is extremely talented. She's a little taller, but Dakota Kai is extremely small in size. Just got to get used to it. That's a lot of women in the women's division. They're smaller in size. I think Xia Li impressed me a lot more than I expected yesterday. So, we're completely caught up on Super Chats. We already talked about Velveteen Dream. Oh, you know, I'll read this to you. Take it however you want. Mark Henry did an interview on a podcast, Battleground podcast, and Mark Henry was talking about some areas that AEW needs to grow. And he said that he truly believes, this is kind of interesting. he believes that AEW needs to improve on their relationships and marketing with the media. And he said, not just the big media, but grassroots media, podcasts, companies interested in pro wrestling, community involvement. They're also going to be visiting boys and girls clubs, visiting sick kids, cancer. But I found that comment interesting, that he feels that they need to develop a better relationship with even small podcasts out there. And I obviously agree 1,000%, because that lack of communication is the reason why I canceled my trip to Chicago before COVID, and I canceled, everything that I was going to do with the tickets for Queens. Now, let me be clear though, I'm still going to Queens for that AEW event. I'm showing up there 2-3 hours early. We're going to hang out in the parking lot. We might even go out afterwards, but I was looking to buy 100 tickets. I was looking to even do a little bus trip from the 2 airports. And I reached out to AEW 3 times and asked if there's any way I could possibly get a deal for 100 tickets. And even if it's not possible, I'd appreciate any feedback so I know not to sit and wait. No response whatsoever. And I'm sorry. When I look back at Chicago, and all I wanted was a press pass. I didn't want nothing for free. I wanted a press pass in case I wanted to maybe interview someone for my show. And a bunch of other people got press passes, and I contacted the same emails, contact form like everybody else. And I contacted them, I think even 4 times. I didn't even get a no. I got no response whatsoever. And I'm sorry, not for nothing. But, when you got tens of thousands of people who tune in every week, and I'm doing it since 1997, and, I have some of the most loyal friends out there and family, which is all of you, very committed to what we like in wrestling, and I can't even get an answer. You take those two together, and it's like, you know what? No, thank you.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster.
Oh, shit. Epic fail. 1 second.
To me, those goody-good people
Hold
who
on.
work shitty jobs for bum paychecks
Sit
and
back,
What the hell?
every day and worried about their bills
Wow.
were dead. I mean, they were
There we go.
suckers.
Hold on.
They had no balls.
What the hell did
If
I do
wanted
here?
something, I just tugged
Hold
it.
on.
I ran everything.
Oh, my God. That was an epic fail. Holy shit. You know what happened? I didn't hit the switch, like when the show is over and it switches over. I hit a different, like an overlay instead, and it took over the whole show. And no matter what buttons I was pushing, nothing was changing it. I'm like, oh no, that kind of sucks. There we go. I was trying to hit the shout out for La Nostra Familia, my great family. So, I apologize. Yeah, I got to leave the shout outs up one extra time. Hang on, let's do that over. Shout out to all my channel members. For everybody who joined tonight, I will definitely add you, and you'll be up as of tomorrow with the shows. And sorry for that little faux pas. For a minute, I was freaking out. I was like, what the hell did I do? But we fixed it. But, like I was saying, that, at least give me an answer. If you don't want to do it, if I'm not welcome, at least have the courtesy of telling me. Now, someone has stepped up and reached out to me and said, as far as this person knew, that, there's no issue with me. But still, you reach out. I mean, 100 tickets is a lot. What I wanted to do at the Queen show is I wanted to buy 100 tickets. I wasn't giving them away for free. But what I was going to do is whatever the face value was for the tickets, anybody that wanted to hang out with us would be able to hang out with us. But the idea was that we would all be in one section. We'd all have like 6 rows together. And we all hang out and have fun during the night. We'd be the loudest section in the whole building. And we would just have fun. That's why I wanted to get the 100 tickets. Again, I wasn't going to give freebies out. I mean, obviously, I got to plan a wedding too. But I thought if I could get all in the same section, and then all of you that want to come that night, you buy a ticket and we all hang out together. No response. From a press pass to 100 tickets, no response. So I'm going to still show up, but I'll probably hang out with all of you, and then I'll make the decision if I'm going to go to the show or not. If I don't go to the show, I'll go back home, only 10 minutes away, and I'll cover the show live here online that night. If I decide to go in and hang out with some of you, then I'll stick around. We'll see. Mixed partial farts. You want to see a partial fart? Go on my Twitter and check out Hobbs. Check out Hobbs. But anyway, I think we're done for tonight, everyone. So, great night. 2.5 hours. Okay, a little longer than I expected, but the CM Punk, Daniel Bryan news is a big deal. I mean, let's be honest. Outside of Brock Lesnar, you look at people who are not currently wrestling for WWE within the United States, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk have to be in the top 5 amongst people who are unsigned that could show up in AEW. In fact, they might even be number 1 and number 2. I personally think they're I can't think of anybody else right now. I mean, there are other names out there that, of course, we'd love to see them come in that aren't wrestling for WWE right now. But seriously, when you realize that out there, they're the number 1 and number 2, and I'm not talking about people wrestling for Impact or MLW. I'm talking about people who are just flat out free agents. You not only have the opportunity to possibly pick up the number 1 person in demand, but maybe the number 2 person in demand, and that person has proven to you only a couple of months ago that person could still work on a top shelf level. I mean, my God, just imagine Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega. Imagine Daniel Bryan versus Guevara. Imagine Daniel Bryan versus MJF, which would be a clash in styles. So you think of Guevara versus, Daniel Bryan versus maybe Penta. You think of Guevara, I keep saying Guevara, Daniel Bryan versus, I don't know, Pac. I mean, there's a lot of names, and I'm leaving out a ton. A lot of names. You could put them against one of the Young Bucks. I think people would go crazy. Imagine CM Punk and Daniel Bryan versus the Young Bucks. That would be probably a fantasy match for a lot of people out there. So, thank you, my friends. I see all the kind words. Much love. Oh, yes. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. This is definitely worth going off the air with this note. Remember the feud with Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon where nobody had a win? Now, I know Sam didn't post that on the comment, but the only reason why I'm saying this is because I remember the storyline. If you remember, they both wrestled to a countout. It went to a countout. It was the AEW Dark match, September 1st. Now, we could also be a little bit technical here. As far as Dynamite goes, there's never been a countout. And the reason why I tell you that we may have to look at it that way is this. The first ever intergender match was on the Jericho Cruise. Wasn't it Riho and Kenny Omega versus Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian? That happened on AEW Dark. But we had a couple of weeks ago, Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander versus the Bunny and the Blade. They announced that as history. First intergender mixed tag match. I should say mixed tag, not intergender. Mixed tag match. So they didn't even acknowledge the match on Dark. So if they're not going to acknowledge the match from Dark, why should we acknowledge that match on Dark for a count out? So you are absolutely right. That is the first count out in AEW. But we got to use the same logic. As far as their main product goes, they've never had a count out. That's pretty wild. Now I got to research to see if there was ever a DQ. So everyone, before I go, if you don't mind, Hopefully I don't screw this one up. I don't think I will. Smash that like button. Like, share, subscribe. I hope no one out there is annoyed that I put the setting that only those subscribed to my channel could chat in the chat room. The number one reason is to eliminate trolls. But also, you know, the idea is that everybody who is chatting live, I know is a subscriber, and subscribing costs nothing. It costs zero. Of course, I'd rather you tune in every week than subscribe. Like, as long as you tune into the shows, that's the most important thing. But, you know, the idea of getting this audience, you know, subscribers up a little bit, you know, I'm not going to lie. I'm too excited to get to 20,000. I just wish I started doing this video 10 years ago. 10 years ago was the first time that a lot of you out there were telling me, why don't you do video? Why don't you do video? 10 years ago, technology was a lot different. It was not as easy. I mean, Mish made me feel old yesterday. That I've been doing podcasts before iTunes was even around, which I got to check that fact, but that's kind of like sad. But the point is, you know, it's cool to have, you know, everybody who interacts subscribed also. So, you know, I might change the setting back, but it seems to be good. And hell, I loved that fun before. You know, like I said, now when you subscribe during the show, you get a little bit of acknowledgement on the screen. Everybody who super chatted, of course, I still bring you up answering it, but you get that little graphic. You know, we got Alexa Bliss, we got Riddle, Big E, and Nakamura. And I'm going to be adding a few others. I'm looking around for some good AEW ones. So if anybody has any good AEW animated ones that you think would look good for the channel, definitely send them along, man. Seriously. In fact, look at this. Surprise. Look at that. Oh, shit. You know, I got to fix this. All I got to do is quick. You know, I even think he might even deserve a little audio tonight. I think we got Joe Cronin in the house tonight, which is good. Everyone, make sure you tell Joe now that once in a while when you bring his name up, even some people that want to see some like wars, I always give a good shout out to him. You know, in fact, there's nobody on YouTube that I've actually like ripped other than Hannibal, if you think about it. By the way, what do you think of my Michael Myers shirt? I want to be like Mike. Shout out to Joe Cronin. I always say on these shows, come on, everyone, speak up in the chat. You got to let them know that, you know, once in a while, Joe, if you don't know, once in a while, we get some people that try to stir things up over here. Like they'll say something derogatory. And you know, I always, you know, do the opposite. I mean, I acknowledge you bust your ass. And, you know, I definitely look, you know, I root for you to get like a little commentator jobs. You know, it blows me away that these promotions do not even consider, you know, even if they did it just for like local shows or the super shows, house shows or whatever. But, you know, I always pay attention. I try to stay neutral because sometimes I get baited into things, but you know, if I get baited into saying something, and I know I've never with you, but if I ever get baited into saying something, I usually say it publicly. Like, notice that no one ever furnishes, you know, like a DM or an email or something like that. And believe me, of course, there's very easy ways to Photoshop and doctor. But that's why whenever I show like stuff that I have saved, I always show video of it. You know, because there's no way to doctor that stuff. But shout out to him. He does great job. JD, Jason, RCWR, Connor, as well, which I haven't seen him the last couple of days. I hope he's doing well. But hey, I want to thank you all for hanging out tonight for a little while. You know, a little while, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Don't forget tomorrow night, 10:05 p.m. I'll be right up here. We are doing another contest tomorrow. We'll announce the winner in the Matt Hardy gift package, but tomorrow we're going to have another contest. So I have a couple of ideas of what I want to give away. I'm actually looking at one right now, so I'll decide. But in fact, it might even have a theme with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. In fact, it might even be a pair of autographs of the two. In fact, the more I think about it, I think that's probably what we will do. So tomorrow, give away a pair of autographs, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. And we'll see what happens. So Benjamin, JD is not obnoxious. He's passionate. I admit I disagree with a lot of his views, but, I respectfully disagree. The guy, he's very, very passionate about how he feels about things. But, one thing I always say to defend him, even though I disagree with a lot of his stuff, he truly feels. I mean, you cannot get, I'll say it like this, you cannot get that angry about something and not truly mean it. I mean, you literally, seriously. So when he gets really riled up and angered like that, I mean, yeah, I understand why some people will be like, dude, it's just wrestling. But no, man, when you put that much work into what you do, and especially when you are committed to cover a product that a lot of your viewers like, but you may not, I noticed that text underneath. I got to make that bigger. I just started those yesterday, Joe, so that's why. But no, Joe, seriously, I'm going to super chat you back on your show, give it right back to you, because you should not have to super chat this to say this. But yeah, absolutely would love to do an episode with you. Seriously. Come here. If you want me on yours, you come on mine. We could actually, we could do, I don't know if you're into baseball, but it's almost like a home and home. Like here in New York, like we'll have like the Mets take on the Yankees. A home and home is like they'll play at Citi Field one day and Yankee Stadium at the other. So maybe we'll do a home and home. If you're interested, I'm down. Seriously, one thing over the years, and this is not to throw shade about any previous shows that I used to do, but when I went to school, I hated debate. I always hid from debating. Very, very insecure about taking a view and sticking by it. Always afraid of being shot down. And I avoided debate anywhere I could. Over the last 10 years, I have drooled at the idea of debating. I love having a difference of opinion. I love taking a stand and being passionate about it and strong about it and sticking with your view. And one of the things that was a little bummer in the past, and I'm going to just say it, my previous co-host, Kevin Castle, one of the problems that started happening towards the end is we thought too much alike on a lot of topics. And, you don't want to force a debate, obviously, but Mish and I, we disagree on a ton of shit. The Velveteen Dream thing is one of the most heated debates that we have ever had. That shit people still talk about to this day. But the thing is that when you want to have a strong discussion and have a debate back and forth, and what would happen a lot, and a lot of you would say that, is I would go on a rant for 2, 3, 4 minutes. I would speak my mind, and then hoping, to have a little debate in return. And instead, because I said everything that I said, and a lot of this is my fault, but after I go on my passionate rant, my co-host would respond with, yeah, I agree. No, the screen's not frozen. But I was like, okay, moving on. And that happened a lot. And what I didn't want to do is pick topics simply to have a debate, because some people out there also, they don't like debating as much as others. Some people out there take debate personally. You get into an intense argument with someone, and at the end of the argument, they're like, I'm not talking to you. I hate you right now. In politics is a wonderful example. Politics, that's why I don't talk politics anymore. When I started falling out of favor a little bit with Trump, and I didn't vote for him last year, I'm sorry, but that's just how I felt. And I started to understand some of the things out there. I started looking a different way. And I would get into these heated, outside of wrestling, getting these heated discussions with people. And I would take my viewpoint and I would stick to it. And people would get angry. Few people unfollowed me on my fucking personal Facebook page. And I'm like, whoa. Simply because I changed my view and I feel that, this should be, you're actually like that angry, personal that I'm like, come on. That's when I realized that we're in bizarro land and all I give is shit. I told Patron knows. I had to talk to my father yesterday about my wedding, and we'll continue this conversation tomorrow. Tomorrow is very off topic, off the cuff. But we were talking about the wedding stuff, and my father's not that thrilled about it. More because he's concerned about my future financially than anything else. But the thing is that in the middle of that conversation, I said to him, I said, Dad, you don't understand. I don't go out. My fiance don't go out. We go out together. I don't hang out with my friends like I used to. I want to do the indie wrestling stuff again, but I don't see people like I used to. I said, for me, if the rest of my life involves me spending with my family, with my fiance, with my African gray parrot, and all of you, that's enough for me. And as long as I'm healthy, it's enough for me. I'm content with that because that's what gives me the most joy and the most happiness. And I think that kind of got through my dad a little bit yesterday. So, but anyway, we'll continue that conversation tomorrow. But yeah, no, seriously, Joe, consider it done, man. We'll definitely talk and we'll hook it up. I would love to. In fact, if you're even down with it, we can even have people that tune into both shows, maybe come up with some topics for us to discuss. So yeah, I'm definitely down for that. So anyway, with that said, I am going to jet out of here. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. Not a late night, but fun as always. So, wow, this week is flying by. Tomorrow's Thursday already. But everyone have a great night. In the comments section after the show is over, post your feedback. If anybody notices over the last couple of days from Money in the Bank to last night, I've responded to about 90% of everybody's comments. So I just haven't had a chance to get through the rest. But you comment, I respond. I acknowledge it at minimum. But I thank you all for the support as always. Be well, stay safe. We'll find out what the rating is tomorrow for AEW, and we'll continue this conversation tomorrow night. So, as we always do, and we definitely will not have glitches this time around, I leave you with this. Good night, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.